Jill 50.
Did you know that United Healthcare helps connect you to doctors and therapists with 24/7 access to virtual care?
So I could have therapy from my couch?
Yep.
Or a doctor appointment from my car?
If you wanted to.
Wait, you're right. I don't even like when people see me sing in the car. Couch appointment it is.
Virtual visits are just one of the ways United Healthcare helps connect you to better health. Learn more at uhc.com. Plan benefits may vary.
Whatever you're into, you'll find it at Audible. Listen to thrillers, motivation, comedy, and more with podcasts, bestsellers, and originals all in one app. Sign up and start free at audible.com.
Don't miss the ESPN Dayton Glacier Softwater High School Football Game of the Week every Friday night right here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. College Football Hall of Famer Keith Byers and Justin Kinner will have the call all season long. Check out wingam.com for the complete schedule and to stream the games live. We're live. We're local.
What are you gonna miss? He struck him out.
We're Dayton's ESPN radio station. Now, let's send it to the WING studios for Dayton's only local sports talk show. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
All right, happy Tuesday. So earlier today, Kev, I noticed that I was starting to lose my voice a bit, and I think it might have had something to do with the hater mic from yesterday. I might have used it a little bit too much.
Yeah.
No, and by the way, I have not used it too much. Let's just be clear. That I did not use it too much. I plan on continuing to use it moving forward.
That's one man's opinion.
So there you go. Well, it's the one man's opinion that matters because I have the mic in my hand. Hello, it's off and rolling. Now, the thing is, don't blame me. Don't blame me. If you are annoyed with the hater mic, be mad at the haters. I mean, I can't help that there's so many haters out there that I have to use this. If there was no haters out there and everyone just realized that Kinner knows all, I wouldn't have to use the hater mic.
So define a hater so we all have a clear definition.
Anyone that disagrees with O'Kinner.
Oh, okay. So we're going to be on that microphone a lot today, huh?
No. I don't care. Look, we could all disagree on stuff, but that certain people take a tone with me that isn't like, there's some people that disagree with me. I'm okay with that. Like Nora.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Oh, can you imagine? You need to do the dishes. You need to do the dishes. Oh, this thing is coming home with me tonight. Oh, hey, that grass needs mowed. Hey, that grass needs mowed. Oh, man. I'm going to be divorced before I even get married in May.
You know what? You should take that home because
Let me call Shayla. Hey, Shayla.
I'm sure that mic won't last through, I don't know, an hour or two.
See, and people know, too. Look I'm representing the Cowboys today, baby. Yeah. How about them Cowboys? See, even Jake knows that. He says, you get bad news about Baker, now you're rocking a Cowboys shirt. Absolutely, Jake. It's the beauty part about having two teams. You should have two of everything in life.
Everything?
Everything. Ask Edo. Go Tigers.
You read that article too?
I did.
Oh my gosh.
Dude, that's called a guy that, never mind. Look, the bottom line is I love Edo. I find that absolutely hilarious. Good for, he's in there pumping gas. Hey, you look like, I can't even do the Edo voice on command like that, but never mind. We'll get into that stuff coming up. But I do want to, talk some college football as we open things up. We did spend a lot of time on the Browns and the Bengals yesterday. Plenty of NFL stuff to get into. Coming up, the Browns, an injury update as far as that's concerned. Bengals getting prepared for the Ravens. The Ravens have some key pieces out, but that's been the story for the Ravens all year. Lamar Jackson, Superman, man, that's all I could say. That's why yesterday when people were telling me that the Baker and the Browns, they can't use injuries as an excuse, I said, actually, they can. I don't look at them as excuses. Sometimes the reality is just the reality. People I was listening to Colin. I love Colin Cowherd, by the way. He's my absolute favorite. But I was hearing him, heard his show earlier, and he says, I don't want to hear about injuries. I'm like, well, you can't just say you don't want to hear about injuries. That's the one thing that's the number one factor that is leading to teams either having success or not having success. I hate when we do that. LeBron James and Anthony Davis, if they go down for the Lakers, nobody's going to say, well, I don't want to hear about injuries. The Los Angeles Lakers should still win the NBA championship with or without Anthony Davis and LeBron James. No, because only stupid people would say that. So why would we say that about just this situation with the Cleveland Browns? And keep in mind, it's not just 1 or 2 injuries. We're talking, almost every star player that they have added to make them contenders out. So, but we'll talk about that coming up here in just a moment. See, people noticing the jacket. Chris Schulp over here, he says, a nice jacket, Justin. See, he knows. 2 of everything, like Noah's Ark, man. I'm just telling 2 of everything. All right, but no, I hope everyone's had a good day. No, yeah, Chris, I don't believe you one bit. He goes, Clay Travis is my second favorite to listen to behind Justin. Chris, I don't believe you for one damn bit.
To everything.
Yeah, to everything. Chris, it's a love-hate relationship, but I'd say it's probably 80% hate and 20% tolerate you. I think that's what it is. But no, welcome in again. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine and OGW Energy Resources. Let's talk a little college football, Kev. Yesterday, of course, I had all the intentions of the world of diving into college football. Obviously, that was not the case. It was 3 hours of NFL talk, and I don't think anyone's complaining unless, of course, you're sick of hearing me talk about the Browns. But I did find it interesting. College football over the weekend, another top team goes down, the Iowa Hawkeyes.
Yes, sir.
And here's the problem. I kept commenting over the last couple of weeks that it just looks weird seeing Iowa so high up in the rankings. It looks weird seeing the Bearcats there. And when teams like Iowa go down after finally getting that spot, I feel like Iowa had a responsibility, not just to itself, but they represented a lot more than just the Hawkeyes. They represented those programs that everyone says they don't belong there. They don't belong there. Even if they're undefeated and they're rolling, everyone always puts this, these teams have this aura around them, the reputation of, well, that it's Iowa. Come on, I know they're having a good season, but really? And then we try to defend them. We try to say, well, it's an isolated season. We can't let the history of the programs, sit here and do that. So it's interesting to me when it comes down to it. At the end of the day, I'm like, Iowa had a responsibility. They had a responsibility to be able to continue their success, to prove to people that, hey, we're not the traditional blue bloods, or maybe not blue bloods, but the traditional brands that we see associated with the playoff race. And then you go and lose to Purdue that way. Now, you could say, well, Ohio State lost to Purdue by 30 a few years ago. Yes, but Ohio State has the clout and they have the reputation and they have the history to prove that, yeah, well, it's Ohio State. We know Iowa's not better than Ohio State. We know that they were better than them that night. But there are people who believe that Purdue was just as good as Iowa, that Iowa was that they were overhyped and all of that. All I know is as a Buckeye fan, that was not a good thing that night. Iowa going down, it brought Iowa down, it brought Penn State down, it brought a win over Penn State down if it comes down to it. It brings down the level of competition in the Big Ten championship game if it comes down to it. Maybe I'm being a little dramatic there, but I don't think I am, because I'm basing all of that, Kev, off of, well, the way that the committee operates. We're talking about human beings. This isn't some calculated formula of how to get to the playoff. You're trying to convince human beings that you are beating top-tier quality teams to justify being put in the playoff. That doesn't help the Buckeyes when teams like Iowa go down. I don't root for Penn State. I don't root for Iowa. I don't root for Michigan, but I do root for the Big Ten in regards to having enough firepower to be able to prop up the conference to give Ohio State some wiggle room. In the past, Ohio State has not had that margin for error, because when you have a bunch of weak teams in your conference, you don't have a lot of big opportunities to face some top teams in the country. It's the Big Ten's responsibility to provide that. Your thoughts on the Iowa loss? That wasn't just a loss. It was a bad loss. You got blown out. And we've seen the committee in the past say, you could be a top team and lose, but you can't be a top team and get blown out. And Iowa broke that unwritten rule.
I think it just proves everything we all know, man. It's hard. Football, sports, winning in sports is hard. And it's not only just winning on the field every single week, but like that pressure throughout the season mounts and it mounts and it mounts, because you get closer and closer to the end. And, it's called lemon booty. Like, you get nervous, you get scared, all your nerves are on the line, because closer and closer the season comes to an end, closer and closer you are to your ultimate goal. And when you have that 0 next to your name and you're close to the end of the season, it intensifies, especially when you're a team that isn't traditionally in the running for that. So those teams had that added pressure as well, who aren't traditionally in those spots to go to the college football playoff. I can't imagine the amount of pressure that is going to be on the Bearcats if they are still undefeated going into their championship game in the AAC. I can't imagine the amount of pressure and the amount of things that are going to be going through their heads. Not only the fact that if they're undefeated, they're still going to have that thought process in their minds of man, we can't just win. We got to win in style. And we saw what happened to them last year when they tried to win in style. They end up almost losing a game because they tried to put on a bonus touchdown, end up fumbling at the goal line. And if dude would have scooped it up and took it back to the house, they would have lost the game. So like that pressure in those moments, like it comes out for these teams. So when you look at this Iowa game, that was, I mean, I saw that coming from a mile away. I saw it coming from a mile away, man. When you have a game that you had that previous week versus Penn State, a come from behind victory where your defense plays another outstanding game, getting like 4 interceptions in that game, knocking out Clifford from Penn State and everything like that, and devouring on their backup quarterback to propel you to a win. I saw that coming. I saw a tight game versus Penn State coming their way, and ultimately credit to Penn State for getting that dub. But that's what happens in college football, because that's what happens when we start to count our roosters before they hatch. We all do it. We do it with every single team out there. We're going to do it today. We're going to do it tomorrow. We're going to do it next week. Well, all they got to do is win this game, this game, this game, this game. And if they can just squeak by this game, they should be in there. And if this happens, and then if this happens, and they'll be in. It never goes like that. The season plays itself out. The season plays itself out how it's going to play itself out. When teams and media and fans start thinking like, oh, man, it's a cakewalk all the way until the Big Ten championship game for Iowa. We did it last week. We said, well, who's on the rest on the Iowa schedule that scares you? I said Nebraska. I think you said Wisconsin. Nope, we're both wrong. It was Purdue who got them. You know what I mean?
Real quick, that you really emphasize that, and the hater mic way over here picked it up, and it scared the hell out of me. But when you say with your chest, the hater mic did not appreciate that. It picked it up.
We're hating on
that was pretty impressive.
Hating on Iowa. Yeah, hating on Iowa, but that's what happens. That's what happens in football. You know, especially in college football, where the wiggle room for some teams is wider than the others. There's zero wiggle room for UC. Well, Ohio State has had their wiggle room deleted by losing to Oregon already in the season. They have no wiggle room. I don't think it matters for Ohio State who they play in the Big Ten championship, what their record is. If Ohio State runs the table and is Big Ten champions, undefeated in the conference, they will be in the college football playoff. They will be in a college football. We've seen it happen before when they weren't even the Big Ten champions. Like, you talked about the human element in there. They're going to put the Big Ten champion in there, especially if it's Ohio State. Yeah, like I don't think they're looking for reasons not to put Ohio State in. They're looking for reasons to put them in. And as long as Ohio State wins out, they're fine. But my only concern, especially this year, they're fine. They're fine this year because everything's opened up right now. Bama got a loss. Clemson's out of it. North Carolina's out of it. I was a few weeks ago, I just was not sold on Oklahoma. I was like, I just don't like how they look. I know that they're winning and that's all that matters, but like they're vulnerable to being picked off. Like they're vulnerable to being knocked off each and every week. But regardless of the fact that it was TCU, the Williams kid just makes that offense look like what we've seen with Jalen Hurts, like what we saw with Kyler Murray, like what we saw with Baker Mayfield. So that offensive firepower is going to be enough to get them through the Big 12 and possibly the Big 12 championship game. So Oklahoma is back in that race, even though they never left. We just did it. We just did it. Yeah. Who they're going to lose to this week? So, and they may be out. And like with the way college football is going, but the thing is, we can't get too cocky because Ohio State can go down at Indiana this coming up Saturday night. Like anytime you play an opponent at night under the lights and you're playing at their place and their home fans, they're going to play inspired football. Indiana came close to punching them out last year. Do I expect that close a game this year? I do not, but it doesn't mean that that's not going to happen. Again, you're playing at Indiana. This reminds me of the at Purdue game a few years ago. You're playing at Indiana at night, under the lights. Indiana crowd. I know Ohio State fills up that place. That's always the big talking points about that is it's always a lot of Buckeye fans. But Indiana football popularity's picked up a bit over the last year and a half as, Allen's kind of turned that program around. Still think it's going to be a lot of Buckeye fans there. But the bottom line is Ohio State could be vulnerable, but I don't think they will be, especially I think it helps that they're coming out of a bye week. Yeah. Is this a trap game? We talked about the trap game for the Bengals over the weekend and the NFL. I think this is kind of a trap game. But I do believe that because they're playing Indiana at night, that
it takes the trap game element away a little bit. I think Ohio State's not going to overlook a team. I think because Ohio State, we talk about teams rising up under the lights.
Right.
I think Ohio State's going to play inspired football under the lights too, which I think neutralizes that potential trap game element. What do you think?
Helps a ton coming off of a bye week. Helps a ton because they didn't play last week. I'm sure the players are ready to get back on the field, because the worst thing you can do is have a bye week when you're playing some good football. And Ohio State has slowly started to play good football on both sides of the ball and special teams. So you want to keep playing. And as a fan, I wanted them to keep playing too. I'm like, man, let's not stop the momentum now. We're in a good rhythm right now. We didn't put up 50, 60 points. Like, let's keep it rolling. Like, you only want bye weeks in a case where it's a situation like the Cleveland Browns. Like, all right, man, we're banged up. We got tons of injuries. Where's the bye week? We need a bye week to get ready. But in a situation with the Ohio State Buckeyes, when we're rolling, no bye week. Forget a bye week. We'll play it all the way through. And that's how I was feeling. But this bye week, we get the bye week, we handle business versus Indiana, and then we take care of Penn State under our lights. Oh, it's going to be an epic one. I can't wait.
Yeah. And
get your popcorn ready.
So, and again, Robert Miller, he's a Bama fan. Alabama, Robert over here says, if Alabama goes out and loses a close game to Georgia, they will still have a shot of getting it.
No.
Robert, I know you're a Bama fan and you have this like confidence about you, which I can respect, because I can't tell you you're being obnoxious because you're acting the same exact way Buckeye fans do. So I'm not going to single you out like that. But like, I think you're being a little bit too cocky and too confident that a 2-loss Bama team can get in. I don't think that's the case. I saw people on social media today kind of going back and forth about whether or not, if they lose a close, to Robert's point, if they lose a close game to Georgia in the SEC title game, and Cincinnati's on the ropes, could a 2-loss Alabama team get in over Cincinnati? I don't think it's that crazy to think that the committee could say, well, yes, Power 5 team, not Power 5. Yeah. But I do think that would be a horrible look for the committee if they did it. But again, what are we doing here? Are you trying to do what's right and you feel bad for the Bearcats and that's why you let them in? Or do you put a 2-loss Bama to be? I'm not a big fan of that. I think, like, and for instance, let's say Iowa would have remained undefeated, Kev, and they're number 2 or number 3 when Ohio State would have played them in the Big Ten title game, and Ohio State loses by a field goal. Robert, as a Buckeye fan, I wouldn't be pushing for Ohio State to get in the playoff. You lose twice, I think that should be an unwritten rule. You lose twice in a 14 playoff, you're out. You're out. I can forgive a one loss. One loss is forgivable depending on who it's against, how it's done. Alabama's one loss is forgivable. I have no problem with their one loss. You know what I mean? You're on the road, well-coached Texas A&M team. They have talent on Texas A&M. They obviously haven't lived up to it. A couple losses heading into that matchup by then. But I have no problem whatsoever with one-loss teams getting in. I could forgive the Texas A&M loss. I will not forgive a second loss for Alabama, and I wouldn't forgive a second loss for Ohio State. I don't think that any 2-loss team should get in the playoff. That's not Bama hate, Robert. That's just that's just me in general. I just think that a lot of times a good team will get one loss and we just write them off.
Right.
I don't think we can write off all one-loss teams and put in a 2-loss Alabama team just because of the Shield. I'm not okay with that.
Yeah, I'm not good with that either. And also, who would their win be versus? Like, who would that big win, that signature win, be first? Would it be versus Ole Miss, a 2-loss Ole Miss, or a 2 or 3-loss Auburn team? Like, at some point you do have to put the resumes on the table and say, who have you beaten?
Yeah, because the SEC is not as good as we thought coming in, and the Big Ten is better than we thought coming in. Now, we'll see. Again, a lot of football left to be played, but as of where we sit right now, all of our opinions are being generated from where we're at right now in the college football season. So much can happen between now and then. Heck, heading in, what week of football are we in right now? Heading in week 8?
Week 8, yes.
Week 8. So heading into week 6 of the college football season, the crazy stat I came across was that there was 40 top 25 losses heading into week 6. That was the most top 25 losses at any point 6 weeks into the season in the history of college football. How about that?
I love it.
So if that's how crazy it was 6 weeks in, and we already saw number 2 go down last week, heading into week 6, we saw Alabama lose the week before. We're only going to continue to see crazy things happen. We're not done with this yet. By the way, we keep talking about all the dominoes that have to fall for Cincinnati to get in. Cincinnati's holding a playoff spot as we currently sit here. If they lose, they don't get that one loss benefit of the doubt, unfortunately. Right. There's many that believe they don't get the undefeated benefit of the doubt, unfortunately. I'm not on that train, but they lose, they're out, and then all of a sudden it's like a bunch of teams come back in. Remember you play dodgeball and you got knocked out, but then if someone caught the ball, then everyone that's out gets to come back in. Like, that's what I feel like's happening. There's a lot of teams that are out that think they're out, but man, if Cincinnati gets knocked out, then everyone gets to come back in. That's kind of how I view this. Cincinnati is holding a lot of power in their hands. They just got to keep dominating the way they have so far.
Yeah, they're under a lot of pressure. Like we opened the segment up, though, their wiggle room is obsolete. Not only they can't lose, they have to win. They have to win in convention fashion to hang on to their 4th spot, because ain't nothing in my mind going to tell me that they're going to actually keep or get to the number 2 spot. I mean, the AP poll has them at the number 2 spot. I don't think the committee will put them at the number 2 spot ahead of undefeated Oklahoma team from a Power 5 conference and everything like that. And like I said, been saying for weeks, what has to happen for UC is Georgia has to beat Alabama. Like, if Alabama beats Georgia, both teams are in, without a doubt.
That I agree with.
And then what? If Ohio State runs the table as we're all hoping here in Buckeye country, that's 3 spots. And what if Oklahoma runs the table? Boom, that's 4. You're out. They're going to keep you out. So you have to pray to the heavens that Notre Dame remains good, that Notre Dame doesn't get more than 1 more loss this season, and that Georgia runs the table undefeated and beats Bama and gets them out the paint. And that way, most likely you're in. But it's so much football left to be played, man. It's so much football. I know it's week 8, and we're already counting these wins and losses and figuring out who's going to make it in, who's not going to make it in. And, oh, that's not a top 10 team. Do you really watch the games? Yada, yada, yada. All this rhetoric, all this talk. The season's going to play itself out. And at the end of the season, there's going to be multiple teams that you could make a good argument for that could get that 4th spot. And a lot of other seasons, you can make the argument because you're a fan of football or you're a fan of this conference or a fan of that conference why that team should be in. But I think this year is going to be a situation where multiple teams have a legitimate argument to be in that 4th spot.
All right. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine and OGW Energy Resources. Talking all things college football right now. The rankings, again, just a lot of things, were shook up because of the Iowa loss. In our top 10 list that we put out every week, again, everyone cares about the Kev Nash top 10 and the Kinner top 10, right? Like, the one thing that you and I had in common is we left Cincinnati alone. We didn't have them move up. Like, well, for those watching on Facebook and YouTube right now, here's Kev Nash's top 10. You kept Cincinnati at 3. You put Oklahoma up. I'll just be honest, like, I did the same thing. I thought that. And see, this is why I still think Cincinnati's in trouble at times. And here's why, is that the Bearcats, they beat UCF. They beat them convincingly. But Oklahoma's win this past weekend, again, everything changes each week. But if we're talking about things have to change because Iowa lost and they had to drop, Oklahoma's win was more impressive because of who they did it against. And, the quarterback element of it too. Ritter's really good. I'm not downplaying him. For me, I don't know your reasonings, but that's the one reason I did bump Oklahoma all the way up to 2 is because I didn't punish Cincinnati. I mean, that's where we're at now. The Bearcats are mad that they're in the top 4, which is where they were mad last year because they couldn't get in the top 4. Now you're in the top 4, but now Bearcat fans are mad when people say they shouldn't move up to number 2. Bottom line is, they're fortunate to be in top 4 because what we just did with the Oklahoma game is what the committee is going to do a lot moving forward is,
right.
Well, you beat a bad team by 40 or 50. That's what you're supposed to do to remain in the hunt. But beating a top 5 Penn State team for Ohio State needs to bump them up, and we have to bump you down. Like, I think they're going to run into that each week.
Yeah, they're definitely going to run into that because they're not going to be playing the same competition level as everybody does as the season goes on. Because earlier in the season, they're basically playing the same competition level as everybody else as their non-conference schedule. And, with them going to Notre Dame, getting that big victory, and that bumped them up. The reason I jumped Oklahoma up to number 2 isn't necessarily who they beat. It's because of how they look. They look totally different. They look totally different, not only on offense, but on defense as well. The freshman 5-star quarterback, Caleb Williams, gives them an element that Rattler just doesn't give them. He gives them the ability to run on the edge. He has scramble ability. He has zone read ability. And like we talk about with Lamar Jackson, when you're running a zone read, you have to account for the quarterback running or holding the ball on the give, which opens it up for the running back. So the running back has more space to roam and run. So he is igniting that Oklahoma Sooners team. So that's why I got them up there. I still have Penn State jumping up to 4 with the Iowa loss, dropping them out of my top 10. And the thing about Penn State that I have a big question mark about is what's up with Clifford? We don't know the injury. Like, it's a lot of reports about the injury, but we don't know what the actual injury was, why he left the Penn State game and everything versus Iowa. So we don't actually know. Like, is this dude's shoulder broken? He got a broken collarbone?
None. They still should win.
Does he have a broken collarbone? Because that's going to affect how the rest of their season goes. So we're going to see what's up with Penn State very, very soon. Next week versus the Ohio State Buckeyes at night, by the way. So we have that. And then for me, I got Oregon at 5. I still have them a spot ahead of Ohio State, even though they had that loss to Stanford. But ultimately, they beat Ohio State in the head-to-head matchup. Then Ohio State at 6, Notre Dame at 7, Bama at 8. You know, a lot of people still had Bama like in their top 4 after the loss to Texas A&M. You know, you do have to be punished when you lose. Like, you can't just like, well, no, they're Alabama. It's cool. They're always winning. It's cool. They're afforded a loss. No, you have to be punished just like everybody else is punished. Like Ohio State was punished when they lost to Oregon, even though Oregon was ranked a top 10 opponent. And I still, quote unquote, punish Ohio State by having Oregon ahead of them.
I know you're going down this, right?
Yes.
You're getting a lot of Wake Forest question marks in the chat, but if you're getting to that, I'll just let you keep.
Yeah, I'll get to it. So then we got the team up north, Michigan. So that team is playing some good football, and I definitely had a struggle putting the 10th team in there. I could have picked Michigan State. I could have picked Iowa. I could have picked, at the time, Kentucky. Like, even though Kentucky had that loss, you know, I think they afforded themselves pretty well down there in Georgia. Even though it ended up being a lopsided loss, I think they played some good football. For me, I actually watched a couple Wake Forest games. I really like their offense. They're undefeated right now. And for what everybody says, that the weak ACC and everything like that, they're in the catbird seat. They're the only undefeated team in the ACC, because if the only undefeated team in the ACC would have been Clemson, that team would be number 2 right now, or even number 1. So what's the difference? What's the difference between them and Clemson? They're going to play Clemson in a couple weeks. So is that Clemson team no good anymore? Because if that Clemson team ain't no good anymore, why is that win that Georgia got over them being propped up so heavy, right? So that's why I got Wake Forest up there. I would love to hear some other opinions about who would be in their 10th spot.
Yeah, I think it's tough to find a true top 10, but still this year, very entertaining at that. And that was Kev Nash's top 10 for college football. And again, Kev, as we pull up mine again, the Kinner top 10 as we currently sit here, very similar. Georgia 1, Oklahoma
State. Come on.
You know, exactly. The Bearcats at number 3. Now, I'm not going to lie. I have no problem admitting when I'm being home. Alabama probably should be at 4. Maybe. I don't know. I guess Ohio State's loss is against a ranked team in Oregon, so I guess it was at home. I just think that Alabama has flaws, but I think Ohio State's flaws are more concerning, but I do think we've seen them get a little bit ironed out over the last couple of weeks. Bottom line is, I think it's a coin flip. I don't think it really matters who's at 4 or 5, Alabama, Ohio State, or, Ohio State to Alabama. I'm going to put Ohio State because it's Ohio State to me. But at this point, I don't think you can go wrong with either one of those two teams.
Let me ask you a question. Based off of that Texas A&M game and that pass defense that Alabama displayed all season, who would you pick in that game, Ohio State and Alabama, if they played this Saturday?
For me, if we're talking about, if Alabama's pass defense struggled against Texas A&M, they would struggle against Ohio State's. But if Ohio State struggled against Tulsa, I just think that at that point, again, we're nitpicking at this point. They both have the same weaknesses. They both have the same strengths. Their young quarterbacks are their strengths, and their offense is their strengths. There's still question marks at times. Sometimes they're not as potent as the last couple of years, of course. When you're talking about Tua, when you're talking about Mac Jones, you're talking about Justin Fields. But I think the offense is still the strength for both, and the defense is still the question mark, but they still always have the best athletes on the field when it comes to that defensive side of the ball. So that's why it's a coin flip for me. It'll kind of shake itself out. The good news for the Buckeyes, usually it's not the case, but they have better games coming up. Mm-hmm. They have better opponents coming up. Alabama has the SEC title game, if they're careful, to get an opportunity against Georgia to help catapult them in. But Ohio State has Penn State. They have Michigan State. They have Michigan. They have the Big Ten title game. Ohio State's sitting in a better spot than Alabama. I think that as the SEC weakens each and every week, I think the Buckeyes are in a better spot than them.
You know what? I'm on the other side. I would much rather. I would much rather be on Alabama's side right now. I would much rather play Tennessee, LSU, Arkansas, and Auburn, and who is this? I don't even know who this team is. This is a non-conference opponent. So out-of-conference opponent then have to go up against that team up north, Michigan State, Penn State. Like, those are teams that you can actually lose to. Like, these teams, Alabama ain't going to lose to these teams. Alabama going to handle their business. I would much rather be in Alabama's seat right now to have one tough game, or two. Your rivalry game versus Auburn, and then the SEC championship where there's
that
four.
Auburn game means nothing. That Auburn, I mean, it's kind of like what we do with Michigan every year. Beating Michigan is huge for the rivalry and the expectations of the fan base when it comes to that. But how many outside of that, the JT Barrett game, what was the last time Ohio State Michigan met something for the playoffs? So you could say every year because you lose that, you're out. But I mean, like in regards to let me ask it this way. When's the last time Michigan helped prop Ohio State for the playoff? It was that game. But that's
Bama's in the same.
They're not propping Alabama.
Bama's in the same position Ohio State is in. Mm-hmm. If they went out, they're in. It don't matter. So what I'm just saying is, I would much be rather in the seat where, all right, these teams that I'm about to go up against, these aren't coin flip games. These are games that we should win, and we should win handily. And we have a coin flip game at the end of the season. Ohio State has several coin flip games. They have the coin flip game versus Penn State, coin flip game against Michigan State, coin flip game against Michigan, and whomever they're going to face in the Big Ten championship game. Those are 4 big-time games, and 3 of them are all in a row. You're going to go Michigan State, team up north, and then the Big Ten championship game. So I would much rather be in the Alabama seat where, all right, man, we can get through these games and get to the SEC championship and handle this one big-time opponent where Ohio State has at least 4 big-time opponents, because it don't matter who they play. If they run the table, they're going to be in the Big Ten championship game, and then they win that, they'll be in the college football playoff, and the same thing goes for Alabama. It don't matter who they play. They're already going to get propped up because of their brands and who they are off the rip. And if they go ahead and handle their business, they'll be in there.
All right. And again, Ohio State, again, I have at number 4, Alabama 5, coin flip. Honestly, Kevin, I have no problem. If Alabama's, I have no problem with it. You have Alabama drop further back, and that's okay. But I just think that this is the problem with the playoff system right now. And this isn't a 4-team issue. This isn't a 8-team. This is just the playoff in general when you have a committee. I don't think I'm down. I know Alabama's a top 4 team. I know Ohio State is. Like, sometimes, like, I think, like, right now, if we're talking about who we think the real 4 best teams are, not 4 most deserving, not this, not that, Georgia, Alabama, Oklahoma, Ohio State. Forget who's won and lost. Forget who's still undefeated. Those are the 4 best teams. And unfortunately for the Bearcats, I'm not sure how much. I mean, I think they still keep bumping down. Like, I still think that you could look. I need to see a little bit more from Michigan. I don't think Michigan should be that high up. But I'm just saying, like, I'm not convinced Cincinnati goes and beats Michigan. And that's not a shot at Cincinnati. I think it would be close. I don't think the good news for the Bearcats. I don't think they get routed by anyone in 10 through 6 at least. I think they get routed against Alabama. I think they get routed against Ohio State. I think they get routed against Oklahoma. I wanted to say they get, but then again, I keep picturing that damn whatever bowl it was last year when they went punch for punch with Georgia, but it didn't mean as much to them. No, I'm just joking. I think you're going to joke.
Well, no. See, the thing about it is, and when we have this thought process in our mind is, all right, what if they go to this game and they get blown out by Alabama or get blown out by Georgia or blown out by Oklahoma or Ohio State? What makes that any different from Ohio State getting blown out in the national championship game last year? What makes that any different from Clemson blowing Alabama out? Like, those are supposed to be big-time teams, right? We all agree Ohio State's a big-time program, big-time team, money coming out the wazoo. They got blown out in the national championship game last year. Ohio State's been 31-0 in the college football playoff. Oklahoma's been blown out in the playoff multiple times. So I don't think that it's fair to say, like, oh, man, I'm scared they're going to get blown out. Well, we have evidence that these programs have been blown out multiple times. Clemson just got blew out by Ohio State. Like, we're not, well, not this year, but we're not holding against Ohio State that they got blew out by Alabama in the national championship game. We didn't hold it against Alabama that they got blew out by Clemson. we put them right back in there. So I think we operate out of fear. Like if they get blown out, so what if they get blown out? Everybody else get blown out too.
Yeah, but see, I don't like, and I'm consistent on this. This is why I don't care about bowl games. I know like a lot of people get like you brought up UCF and all that. People say, well, look, then the bowl season happens and look, they go punch for punch. But again, what we can't get out of our heads is, okay, UCF goes undefeated those couple of years, but how many times did they have a Tulsa that they win by a field goal? You're going to play, you'll play lower level teams and then you'll need 4 quarters to beat them. Style points matter, and then they go undefeated, but they still had to edge out a lot of bad teams. If Alabama had to edge out a Tulsa, look at Ohio State. They beat Tulsa by 21, and they were ready to run Ryan Day out of it. Remember Mikey? He's an interim head coach. Remember Mikey? My goodness. That was one of the. I wanted to quit radio that day because of the takes that people had, and no respect to the people's opinion. Not when they're that bad. Those were bad opinions. But no, I'm with you. But I just think everything is about this season only. People bring up like when Ohio State lost to Clemson 31-0. It's gonna be tough for them to trust Ohio State moving forward. Well, screw them. The committee, it's about this season and this season only. I do think they do a good job with that part, which is why I do, and we'll find out here in a few weeks, but Cincinnati being in the top 4, they're not counting last year or the year before. This is about the roster. People forget, too, the roster matters. The talent, the NFL talent, all that stuff, like the coaching, all that matters. When you're talking about undefeated middle, like Wake Forest, like I feel like Wake Forest is going to have a tougher time convincing the committee that they need in over Cincinnati. I think Cincinnati has the respect to the committee. But
yeah, absolutely, because, at the end of the day, when Wake Forest finishes their season, they probably might not have a ranked win on their schedule, but UC will have 3. So, yeah, you do have that factor. I'm just saying, like, teams get the benefit of the doubt. Fine. Okay. I totally understand that. But there's some teams out there that get multiple benefits of the doubt. And we talk about their roster and everything like that. Go look at that Clemson roster. That's chuck full of 5 and 4 stars left and right. You seen how they playing football this year? They haven't scored over 28 points yet this year.
Yeah, but that's what I mean is like with those 4 and 5 stars, you'll get the benefit of the doubt. That's why when the Clemson lost to Georgia, I didn't write them out of the playoff. I'm like, okay, now it's making their job tougher moving forward. They got to play perfect football moving forward. But, and the same thing if it was reversed, had Georgia lost to Clemson, like that was like people say all the time, oh, that was a playoff game. Like that wasn't a playoff game, actually. Notre Dame Cincinnati was a playoff game because whoever lost that was ultimately eliminated from playoff contention. That was a playoff game. Georgia Clemson wasn't to me. Clemson kept losing. So no, I agree with you. I just think that the 4, like Cincinnati, they lose once, they're not going to get the benefit of the doubt.
No, not at all.
But Ohio State loses. That Oregon-Ohio State game, had Oregon lost, I think that was more of an elimination game for them. I didn't feel like Ohio State was eliminated. However, the way they got beat was opening the door to possibility.
Chaos.
But I tell you what, it's 3:43. See what happens when you talk college football? And I barely used the hater mic today. Everyone's been on their best behavior. You guys are boring me today. Let's not act like Kinder doesn't enjoy the hate. Let's just be real.
I'm glad you can admit it.
It's what gets me to. If I was, again, I told you, I'm a lot better at being disliked than liked. It is.
Check that. Clemson hasn't scored more than 21 points versus a Power 5 opponent this season. 3 versus Georgia, 49 versus South Carolina State, 14 versus Georgia Tech, 21 versus NC State, 19 versus BC, 17 versus Syracuse.
All right, 518-1410, 518-1410. That's the number to call in and jump in on the conversation. 518-1410. We have a couple of you on hold. We'll get right to your calls on the other side. Also, Ryan Day had another update on Quinn Ewers. And Ryan Day is handling this Quinn Ewers thing perfectly. I think I know what Ryan Day is doing with this Quinn Ewers thing. I have a very good idea what's going on. I'll tell you my theory when we come back. Let's continue talking college football. The hater mic is live and rolling. Give me an excuse to use it, because if not, I'm just going to make up reasons to use it. So there you go. We'll be back. 518-1410.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio.
The Western Ohio Home Builders Association invites you to the Fall Parade of Homes, Saturday and Sunday, October 23rd and 24th, from noon to 4 p.m. each day. Presented by Minster Bank, this free event will feature 13 beautifully designed homes for you to tour throughout the northern Miami Valley. Visit our new virtual site to see additional home tours and some stunning remodels. Whether you're in the market to build your dream home or remodel the home you already love, you are sure to find it at the Fall Parade of Homes. Visit us at poh.westernohiohba.com.
Looking for a career and not just a job? Then Dayton Progress is looking for you. Dayton Progress is the leading international manufacturer of tools and tooling components for the metal stamping industries and has immediate openings for their entry-level machinists. No prior experience is required, and Dayton Progress will train you, starting with the basics. They offer competitive wages starting at $15 per hour and up to $18 per hour with prior experience. New hires are eligible for merit increases after 90 days of employment. They also offer private health care, including vision and dental, free life insurance, a contributory 401k, promotions from within, company service recognition, and 100% tuition reimbursement to local state colleges. Dayton Progress is a great place to work and has been a Dayton landmark for over 70 years. Apply today by emailing your resume to jobs@DaytonProgress.com. That's jobs@DaytonProgress.com. Dayton Progress is an equal opportunity employer.
Frickin' football is here. Frickers has the games on all the screens and you score with savings. Enjoy your favorite ice-cold domestic draft personal pitchers for only $6.50. A 48-ounce personal pitcher for only $6.50. And enjoy a plate of your favorite frickin' nachos for just $7. Take your frickin' pick. Frickin' chicken nachos, Mississippi barbecue nachos, or Nachos Supreme, only $7. This season, don't just be a football fan, be a Nacho fan. At the home for fun, food, sports, and spirits, Frickers.
There used to be one kind of calculator, one that added, subtracted, multiplied, and divided. Now, on the Home Depot app, we have project calculators for everything. Tile calculators, countertop calculators, moving calculators, mulch calculators, air conditioning calculators, wallpaper calculators, grass seed calculators, installation calculators, decking calculators, paint calculators, drywall calculators, and fencing calculators to take the guesswork out of your home improvement projects. The Home Depot app. How doers get more done.
Nobody protects you from mayhem in Ohio like Allstate. I'm a speed bump. Did you hear what I said? I'm a speed bump. And if you have cut rate car insurance, the cost to reattach your muffler could really be a bump in the road. So switch to Allstate, save money, and be better protected from mayhem, like me.
Based on coverage limits selected, subject to terms, conditions, and availability. In most states, prices vary based on how you buy. Allstate Bar and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
When you needed your mom, she was always there with the Vicks Vapor Rub. She used that soothing scent to calm you. And her mom used it to calm her. And her mom, well, you get the idea. Vicks Vapor Rub's always been there. It always made you feel better. And today, it still does. Bring back those childhood memories with the comfort and care only Vicks Vapor Rub can bring. Vicks Vapor Rub, family tradition for a reason.
The moment you fire up a Gator UTV, the engine has your full attention. The completed job is on the horizon, and the trail meets its match. Just like that, you made short work of a long to-do list. Run with us on a John Deere Gator UTV. With effortless four-wheel drive at the flip of a switch and our smoothest shifting transmission yet. Nothing runs like a Deere. Search John Deere Gator for more.
There's confusion about how to protect yourself from COVID. One thing is certain, whether you're vaccinated or not, you need an accurate thermometer to check for fever, the leading sign of flu and COVID. Be vigilant and contact your medical provider at the first sign of fever. Don't rely on non-contact thermometers that have no scientific studies. Only the Exergen temporal scanner thermometer has been proven accurate in more than 100 clinical studies. Learn more at Exergen.com.
Hello, everyone. It's John Kozik, founder and president of TurboTrack Realty, and I buy houses as is, fast for cash. Call me today for an all-cash offer on any of your properties, and we can close within days at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000. Do you own a property that's outdated and needs thousands of dollars in repairs? Great, I'll buy it. I'm a private real estate investor who can solve your real estate problems fast for cash. Do you want to sell and just be done with it? Okay, great. I buy vacant properties, boarded up houses, pre-foreclosures, and inherited properties. I also buy apartment buildings, rental portfolios, divorce homes. I even buy my tenant won't pay me the rent houses. I look forward to solving your real estate problems today. Call me today for an all-cash offer at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000.
Polking Bowling Centers are your connection for family fun or a great night out with friends. Looking for the best venue for your upcoming event or party? Check out our VIP suite at Polking Lane South. It's a unique, state-of-the-art, VIP private 8-lane luxury suite. It's not too late to book your holiday party. Call today and let the good times roll. Let us host your holiday event at any of our centers. Polking Lanes in Dayton on Wilmington Avenue. Polking Woodman Lanes in Kettering on Woodman Drive. Or Polking Lane South in Centerville on Kingsridge Drive.
Some people think fall is the best time of the year. It may also be a great time to consider getting vaccinated against COVID-19. Brought to you by BioNTech and Pfizer.
You want more local content from Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM? Make sure you subscribe to the WING 1410 Dayton YouTube channel, where you can watch all your local shows live or go back and rewatch previous episodes of The Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, The Keith Byers Show, Talking Out Loud with Sully, and more.
Justin Kinner, Kev Nash back with you here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. Look, yesterday was a long show. It was a fun show. I knew I was going to have to eat crow whenever the show started because of the way that the Browns performed on Sunday night. But as I told everybody, that's not the Cleveland Browns. Cleveland Browns are all on the IR. I mean, let's just be honest. They're on the injured list. When the Browns come back, I'll get upset about losses, but until then, it's what it is. Just saying. By the way, you made me think about the hypocrisy of some people, because a lot of the people that are telling me that injuries don't matter and all that stuff, and that they got to just play through it. They're the same people that are also Buckeye fans that were bitching and moaning and crying in the national championship game last year when everyone was saying, "Well, Ohio State wouldn't have got the behinds kicked as much had they had Trey Sermon and had they had their offensive line and had they." Well, next man up. And if anything, in college, it's a lot easier for the next man up approach, because you have, especially for Ohio State, a lot of times your second string guys are starters for 90% of college football. Not in the NFL. There's not a lot of good offensive linemen in the NFL. That's why the Browns struck gold the way that the Cowboys struck gold a few years ago during Dak's rookie season. And Bengals fans should understand that it's not easy to find them. Look, I criticize the Bengals for not being able to find good offensive linemen, but it wasn't for lack of trying. I mean, how many first-round offensive linemen did they draft? Guys like Billy Price. I had no problem with them drafting Billy Price. I love that they drafted Billy. It didn't work out, whether it's because they didn't mold him correctly or whatever. But the bottom line is that it's tough to find good offensive linemen. And when you don't have an OL, you end up with what the Bengals had the last couple of years. You end up with what the Browns look like on Sunday. You got J.J. Watt. And the thing is, the Cardinals were missing some key defensive guys too, and they still had J.J. Watt and the Stars just running around chasing Baker, making him run for his life, of course. So, yeah, it is what it is. I saw somebody say that, karma's a bitch and all this stuff. And, of course, the mic's not working as I go to use it. He said, karma's a bitch. That's what he said, because he said, Baker Mayfield got hurt and Joe Burrow's still playing fine. That's what I get for talking all that. I was like, that wasn't talking smack. That was called facts and common sense, that Joe Burrow could potentially get hurt again by them not addressing the OL. But we'll get back into that stuff later on. The Browns, Thursday Night Football, don't know the status of Baker Mayfield yet. I mean, Baker Mayfield, my only problem with Baker is his attitude today. I didn't like the cocky personality that he had with the media. Baker Mayfield told the media, I get to decide. Bottom line, it's up to me. I mean, shut the hell up, Baker. Like, I defend Baker. I love Baker, but I know his numbers aren't good enough for him to be putting down his chest saying, oh, yeah, it's up to me. I decide. Your coach decides. Stefanski should decide.
The doctors
should decide. The owners can decide. Like a lot of teams, I mean, we watched that, and I'm definitely not comparing. I'm definitely not even putting Baker and Michael Jordan in the same conversation of comparing the two. But my point is that if a team could tell Michael Jordan to sit down and not play, I'm pretty damn sure that an NFL organization could tell Baker Mayfield to sit down and be quiet. Like, I'm all for Baker toughing it out and playing through, but I'm not okay with his tone today in the media session saying, I'll decide if I play or not. That's up to me. That's not up to you, actually. Even if you're healthy, you continuing to play moving forward isn't up to you if you don't start getting this team to where they need to go. I defend Baker to the end of the day, but all I'm saying is I didn't appreciate that attitude from him today. That's all. So,
I feel him. I understand where he's coming from. He wants to be there for his teammates and everything like that. I know a lot of people are saying, well, he's just trying to play so he can get a contract. I don't think that's the case, because obviously his play hasn't been up to snuff since the injury and everything like that. So if it's anything, he's hurting his case to get a big time contract, but he wants to be there. He wants to play. He wants to be there for his guys. I mean, it's commendable, but like you said, it's not his decision. It's the doctor's decision if he's healthy enough to play. And if he's not healthy enough to play, he shouldn't be out there.
So now there's a Matt on YouTube. And he's annoyed with me. He says, oh, God, are you going to be the one who takes his quote out of context? Listen to the actual quote and how he said it. Matt, listen, I did listen to the actual quote. And I don't care if he said it real somber and really soft. The bottom line is he said it. I didn't take anything out of context. When you say it's up to me, bottom line, that means it's up to him, bottom line, in his head. And it's not up to him. So no, Matt, No, I did not listen to it out of context. I listened to it. I heard it. I know what I heard. There you go. Hey, but if Baker Mayfield wants to be the head coach and the offensive coordinator and the team owner and everything else, more power to you. If you want that type of power, I don't like that. It's what I don't like about Aaron Rodgers. I don't like Aaron Rodgers thinking that he should be able to make every damn decision that happens under the Green Bay Packers umbrella. I don't like Russell Wilson doing the same thing, and I damn sure don't like Baker Mayfield saying, I'm going to play. I'm going to play if I want to play, and that's the bottom line. Like, no.
The Rock.
That's Stone Cold Steve. You don't even know your wrestlers, Kevin Nash.
No. The bottom line?
No, and that's the bottom line because Stone Cold said so.
Is it?
Yeah.
Man.
I'll
let you stick to basketball, Kev.
That's Stone Cold Steve Austin. And that's the bottom line because Stone Cold said so.
Is it?
Yeah.
Man.
Kev Nash don't know his wrestling. So disappointing.
He should be.
All right. Matt continues. Because no one else can tell him how he feels in his own body. Oh, my gosh. We're not doing that, are we? We're not doing that, are we? You make fun of Burrow for not being able to talk. Now you're talking crap because Baker is stepping up. I love Baker Mayfield and the Browns, Matt, but you're being a delusional Browns fan if you think it's okay for any player on any team to tell his organization, I'm going to play, and I'm the only one that can decide that. I don't even care if he feels. How many times in baseball do pitchers feel 100%? They feel fine. They don't get to wave off the pitching coach when they come out. How many starting? Luis Castillo doesn't get to tell David Bell, although I would appreciate if he would sometimes. Luis Castillo doesn't get to tell David Bell to shove it and say, it's my body. I get to decide if I'm healthy or not. My arm feels fine. Blah, 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 blah. No, Matt, you're wrong. Jake Whiting says, and that's the bottom line because Baker said so. All right, 518-1410, 518-1410. Kev, who we got online? Where are we at? Who we got? What line?
We got Bob on line 2.
Bob, how are you, sir?
We had Bob. We have Shaw on line 3.
All right, real quick before we get to Shaw, Matt has more. Matt says, he isn't telling anyone if he is going to play or not. What do you mean he's not? When he says, I'm going to play, it's my decision, and that's the bottom line. That's clearly him saying that. What other ways can I misconstrue that, Matt? But Stefanski even said afterwards, the decision is up to Baker, and he will support Baker. Well, then that's the problem with Kevin Stefanski as well, because I do believe there are times where Baker Mayfield does need to be pulled off to the side with that arm. I do respect the toughness. I love the toughness of Baker Mayfield. But if you cannot throw a football, you remember that interception? I mean, my goodness. It was just directly to the defensive back. I mean, that defensive back is the easiest interception he will ever get the rest of his career. Baker Mayfield might as well just ran right up to him and just placed it right in the breadbasket. I believe that's because of the injury. I know Baker could be not so aesthetically pleasing at times, but at the end of the day, it does come down to the fact that was a bad throw. Not because Baker's bad, but because Baker's hurt. And if Baker's going to be just handing the ball off to the other team on a with the Browns defense being as poorly as it is, can't make up for that. Joe Burrow makes a lot of turnovers. I will say this, though, the reason that Joe Burrow's turnovers have not seemed so overwhelmingly bad is because he has a really good defense, as much as that pains me to say. So when Joe Burrow turns the ball over, the Bengals fans aren't freaking out because they know that the defense could at least get them off the field. When Baker turns it over, everyone's like, oh, crap. I mean, you basically just handed him points. And by the way, that interception, they got a field goal. The 2 fumbles, they scored on both of those. Baker, as much as I love the way he played on Saturday or Sunday, and I defended the hell out of him yesterday, half the time he handed the ball right back to Arizona. Not because I think he's bad, but because he's hurt. And that's what I mean by Stefanski needs to make a decision of, okay, that's fine. You want to reward your player for being tough. But at the end of the day, you also don't want to just let the guys decide that, okay, I'm going to play hurt and risk the production of our team. So, yes, he is telling them he's going to play. That's exactly what he's saying.
What did the second MRI say? That's the question. Because
it doesn't matter because Baker Mayfield said that he will decide because it's his body and blah, 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 blah. But no, we don't know what the second decision is. That's why he did not practice today. They're still waiting. Like nothing's been decided or not. Baker hasn't signed off on coach's decision yet. So
that's the big question. What did the second MRI say? Because I know he got a second opinion and everything like that. And normally when guys get a second opinion, they're only getting the second opinion because they didn't like what they heard the first time. So they want to try to find somebody to tell them what they want to hear. So I think it's a situation like that where, all right, maybe they're saying like, all right, man, it needs surgery, or all right, I definitely don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear surgery. So let me try to find somebody that's going to say, oh, man, you'll be fine just like you were before. And if you can grit the pain, you can just play through it. So maybe it's a situation like that. I would be worried because he's getting a second opinion, because normally when second opinions, you're looking for the opinion that you really want to hear from the doctor.
Yeah, like Bengals fans. All right. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. Taking your calls 518-1410. And Case Keenum and the backup and the third string quarterback took all the snaps today. So, of course, when I said he didn't practice, Matt had to get his panties in a wad and say he did practice today. He was at practice today. He was doing a little bit of drills on the side, but he was not participating in practice today. So there you go. All right. We're out of time for this hour. We're going to pick up with this. The hater mic is off and rolling. It's hot. It's working. The batteries are charged and ready to go. So are mine. But the bottom line is, Baker, you don't get to decide. You're not the coach. You're not the owner. And you're not, Baker, as much as I love him, not good enough to talk like that. It drives me nuts when Aaron Rodgers talks like that. And Baker Mayfield trying to say it with his chest. Nope. You can't say it with your chest. You might hurt your shoulder. Don't do that. See, today it's like I hate Baker Mayfield. I don't hate Baker Mayfield, but he makes me mad, and the people that defend that make me mad because, my opinion is the only one that matters. We've established this already. Jake Whiting says, he threw a Hail Mary pretty well. Damn right he did, Jake. And that wasn't a Hail Mary. That was just your everyday, typical Baker Mayfield 70-yard touchdown pass, man. I blame Stefanski. Like I said yesterday, Stefanski doesn't drop enough of those 70-yard touchdown passes. Leaving points on the table. All right, folks, we'll be back in a moment. Hour 2 coming up next.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. We've been expecting you. Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
If you need new roofing, siding, or gutters, skylights, or patio enclosures, if you're a homeowner or business and need someone you can trust, don't take a chance. Enhance with Lance. Lance Roofing and Siding in Fairborn has been satisfying customers since 1993 and hold an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. Lance Roofing and Siding, 8460 Dayton Springfield Road in Fairborn. Call for a free estimate at 864-2722. That's 864-2722 or online at Lance Marion'sRoofing.com.
It's official. When it comes to pizza, Marion's Piazza serves the very best. In over 40 local surveys, Marion's has been voted Dayton's best pizza, and Marion's has also been ranked #1 in the nation by Pizza Today magazine. Every award-winning Marion's pizza is generously prepared with your favorite ingredients. So treat your appetite to the finest pizza around. For lunch, for dinner, or just any time. It's Marion's Pizza. Dine in or carry out at any one of Marion's 9 Dayton area locations.
The whole goal is to point people to something bigger.
What if the news was different and covered more than one side of the story? Not just the who or the what, but the why. What if it took you closer?
It's information and people want it.
So you can make up your own mind. What if the news lets you think for yourself? Introducing a new point of view. Yours. Newsy. Watch Newsy free on your TV. Learn more at newsy.com.
Did you know Prilosec OTC can stop frequent heartburn before it begins? Yep, I said before. Block heartburn at the source by taking the Prilosec OTC 2-week challenge. With just 1 pill a day, you get 24-hour heartburn relief. That's all day. Start the 2-week challenge today at prilosecotc.com and live heartburn-free. Just 1 pill a day, 24 hours, 0 heartburn. It's possible while taking Prilosec OTC. Use as directed for 14 days to treat frequent heartburn, not for immediate relief.
There's confusion about how to protect yourself from COVID. One thing is certain, whether you're vaccinated or not, you need an accurate thermometer to check for fever, the leading sign of flu and COVID. Be vigilant and contact your medical provider at the first sign of fever. Don't rely on non-contact thermometers that have no scientific studies. Only the Exergen temporal scanner thermometer has been proven accurate in more than 100 clinical studies. Learn more at Exergen.com.
Hi, this is Eddie Sorrell, Body Shop Manager at Germain Honda of Beaver Creek. When you need a dependable body shop, we're here to help, repairing all makes and models. Our technicians have over 125 years experience. That means we can repair your vehicle quickly and efficiently. Our department is state-of-the-art with new equipment to get you back on the road quickly. We offer loaner cars during service and free estimates. Germain Honda of Beaver Creek, Route 35, just east of 675 between Xenia and Beaver Creek.
Sip and save at Circle K. Enjoy one coffee or fountain drink every day for only $5.99 a month. Sign up in store.
Don't miss the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. Weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. right here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. On Twitter, make sure to give us a follow. Search 1410 Kinner for Justin Kinner on Twitter. That's 1410 KINNER. And ESPN Dayton for the station Twitter handle. WING 1410 Dayton. Dayton's ESPN Radio. We're live. We're local. What are you gonna miss? He struck him out. We're Dayton's ESPN radio station. Let's send it to the WING studios for Dayton's only local sports talk show. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
Justin Kinner, Kev Nash, back with you here on a Tuesday. Our Glacier Softwater High School football game of the week, week 10 of the high school football season, is coming up Friday night. We'll feature the Centerville Elks at the Wayne Warriors. Pretty excited about that matchup. That'll be coming up this Friday night, 7 o'clock to kick off. We will wrap up our high school football coverage on 1410 ESPN Radio as the regular season comes to an end this Friday, Kev. I can't believe it. Week 10.
Moves fast, man.
College basketball is, ready to tip off here in just a few weeks. Wright State, the Horizon League preseason poll just came out. A10 Media Day, everything about to happen. So, we're getting closer and closer to that. So that's pretty dang neat.
Ready for it, man. Ready for it. Ready to get up to the Nutter Center. Ready to get down to UD Arena. Ready to watch some Syracuse basketball way too late. Games tipping off at 9 o'clock. It's going to be awesome.
All right, so we welcome you back again. Justin Kinder, Kev Nash with you here. According to ESPN's Jake Trotter, covers the Cleveland Browns, for ESPN, put out the injury report today. 20 Cleveland Browns were on the report yesterday. Same 20 on the report today. 20.
Ouch.
Odell Beckham Jr. hurt his shoulder last. He did not participate in practice yesterday or today. Nick Chubb has ruled as out for this coming up Thursday night, so he hasn't practiced this week as well.
Who's the Browns' third string running back?
Hold on, I'm sorry. No, you're fine. Coming up in a moment. Jadeveon Clowney been limited the last 2 days, but then again, that's really not anything new. I mean, he came in limited, and he'll probably leave the Browns limited as far as that's concerned. But as we currently sit here right now, you could just continue going down this list. I mean, Conklin did not participate yesterday or today. Myles Garrett, full go, although he's battling some knee and ankle issues on top of that. Continue to go down the list. Baker Mayfield's left shoulder, he did not practice yesterday, very limited today, did not participate in any snaps or on the field, with first or second team. So Case Keenum was running first team today at practice. So, Coach Mayfield said that he will decide whether he plays or not, so we'll find out. Takk McKinley, limited yesterday, full today. Greg Newsome is back. That's good. Coming back from that calf injury. He participated full yesterday and today as well. Njoku has been limited the last 2 days. He hurt his knee on Sunday against the Cardinals. Treader, out, most likely going to be out on Thursday, although they haven't officially ruled it out. He did not participate yesterday or today. Denzel Ward's been full go yesterday and today. Greedy Williams has been full go. Wills did not participate yesterday or today. So, again, it's just going to be one of those things where we just got to keep an eye on it. But I don't know how to approach this. I look at this as everyone says that for the Cleveland Browns this Thursday night, that this could not have come at a worse time. And I'm kind of looking at it in a different light. The fact that your bye week doesn't come till December, you have a Thursday night game, a short week after all the injuries that you have sustained. I just think you can't change that. You can't change the fact that you have injuries.
Right.
And it's really just about, damage control. So I think at the end of the day, it's a situation where I think that Coach Stefanski, the real coach, not Mayfield, has to make the decision of, rather than force Baker out there on Thursday, just days after that horrible injury, against the Cardinals and OBJ banged up and a lot of these guys, go in with what you have, sit your guys, your main guys, compete for a win on Thursday against a beatable Broncos team, but that defense is top notch so that they're going to be going up against. But I think that you rest all the guys who are on the in-between line. You give them that extra 10. You give them this week off and then the next 10 days off after the Thursday night game. I think that gives Cleveland the best chance to regroup and actually have a fighter's chance in the back half. I fear if they try to force everyone into what many believe is a must-win on Thursday, and let's be clear, it's not, they can lose, Kev, be 3-4, and they're not out anything.
Right.
The damn Steelers last year started the season 11-0, and they barely made the playoff. Look, there's a lot of time for Cleveland to turn this around, and at the end of the day, they're 3-3. They're 500. 500, considering all the injuries, considering the stretch of games that they're in right now, considering the fact that they don't have a bye week till December. I think that this could be a lot worse if I'm going to try to be positive here, Kev. So I just think that it really comes down to, is Stefanski going to we'll find out just how much panic is in that organization, because if they send Baker out there to play Thursday night, if Conklin and a lot of these guys come back prematurely from injury, I think that puts the Browns, that shows that internally they're panicking. They're panicking. I think the message that would be delivered to me by them just biting the bullet and saying, Baker, you're out. OBJ, you're out. Jarvis, although you're on the defensive coming back, you're out. We're going to keep you out as well. Keep everyone out that's on the fence, that's injured. Don't keep healthy guys out. But you take advantage of this. People think it's a bad thing that this game's on Thursday night. I actually think it's kind of a good thing, because these guys would definitely play on Sunday. Not 100%. They're on the fence about whether to play Thursday. I think if they miss Thursday, that's 10 days plus the days missed already yesterday and today. I just think that decision, it's a tough decision. It needs to be made. But I do think that, Case Keenum and Nick Mullins, they took all the throws in today's practice, says that, they're preparing to pull the trigger on Baker Mayfield starting on Thursday. We'll see.
Yeah, keep it under the wraps until you absolutely have to. The opponent doesn't need to know who's starting, who's playing, who's not playing until absolutely necessary, 90 minutes before kickoff. So keep it under the wraps, who's going to be playing, who's not. For everybody that's curious, Dearness Johnson. Yeah, he's the third string running back, elevated to be the starting running back. So all my fantasy football league players out there, go ahead, do what I did. Go ahead, pick him up. because he's going to get all the carries. Because you got to think about it. If Baker's not playing, they're really going to rely on that running game heavily. And he's pretty good, you know what I'm saying? In the limited action that he got last year, he hit at least 2 home run runs for the Browns last year. So fantasy football, I still play it. You should too. I just scooped him up on my team. Go Dearness Johnson.
So, and again, you have Tony on Facebook. He says, the Broncos injury report, ? Tony, I'm going to ask this nicely so I can understand your tone here. Why does that matter? Are you a Broncos fan? Are you really interested in what's going on with the Denver Broncos? Or are you a Bengals fan that is here to use the stupid, lame, I don't know football, injuries are part of the game excuse? Because if that's what you're doing, you get the hater mic. But if you're just genuinely asking, I will be glad to provide that with you. So, Tony, you decide where we go from here. But I would like to give you the option to not get hater mic'd. Okay. So you're asking about the Broncos injury report. That's weird. I had some lunatic on Twitter over the weekend. I simply retweeted the Browns injury report, and they say I'm the most, I'm the most unprofessional journalist out there. Well, this is where this moron's wrong, because I'm not a journalist. I'm not a reporter. I don't cover teams. I don't report on teams. I don't do any of that. So that person's a moron. Second of all, does that individual really want to know? And of course, she's a Bengals fan, so she good for her. She could talk smack with the best of them. I was really impressed, actually. She came at me like you wouldn't believe. She's calling me every name in the book. She made it personal. She brought up my family.
No, that's not cool.
So I was like, okay, cool. We're rolling here. But I was like, do you really want to know the Cardinals injury report, or is this just a way for you to discredit the Browns injury report? Say, see, everyone has injuries. Tony says he's genuinely asking. I don't believe you. I don't believe you. I just don't. Who cares?
So you put everybody through the ringer just to say you don't believe him?
Because I already knew his agenda. I'm not dumb. Tony constantly chirp, chirp, chirp. Chirp, chirp, chirp. There you go. Just saying chirp, chirp, chirp. Matt on YouTube says Baker needs surgery. If they sit him, they should just tell him to get it right away instead of just waiting for the offseason. Well, Matt, I will say this. Look, at the end of the day, when I'm looking at the situation with the Cleveland Browns and Baker Mayfield, like Baker came in after that injury, still threw the ball pretty well. He made some questionable throws that if those start to pile up, I do believe you have to make the tough decision to sit him. But the guy's still averaging nearly 250 passing yards a game. He's still moving the ball up and down the field. The problem is that offensive line could just get a little bit more healthy. They could survive without Nick Chubb. They can't win a Super Bowl or be big time threats without Nick Chubb. But that offensive line with Baker and the receivers, I think that they can get by. They were getting by on Sunday. I mean, the problem is that, if you think about it, had OBJ caught that pass, Kev, it's a completely different ball game. OBJ dropped that. Kareem Hunt went down on that same play. It was like that was it. The Browns gave up after that. It was like, okay, we give up. Guys are dropping like flies left and right. They were still moving the ball. The Cardinals, they weren't, it's not like they were shutting down the Browns offense. Baker was still moving the ball up and down the field. It wasn't pretty. It was very ugly, but he was getting the ball up and down the field. I think Baker could continue to get the ball up and down the field. It's just going to be a matter of pain tolerance and all that. He gives them the best chance moving forward. And the reason I know that is because if Kevin Stefanski truly believed that Case Keenum was better than Baker Mayfield right now with the injury, Case Keenum would be the starter without this wondering game, without this guessing game, I think. I think Keenum, if Stefanski truly believed that Case Keenum was head and shoulders better than Baker Mayfield right now, Keenum would be the starter, and we wouldn't even be discussing this. It would just be shutting him down because of the injury. But the Browns are rolling with Baker Mayfield. Everyone's like, oh, the Browns don't trust Baker Mayfield. They trust Baker Mayfield enough to know that they're willing to let him play through an injury because their playoff chances reside on that. Because if they truly felt that they couldn't, count on Baker, Case Keenum would be their due.
The situation about Baker and the non-throwing shoulder is a pain situation. Like, no matter how tough you are, if you're in pain, you're in pain. And when you throw a football, it isn't just your arm. It's your hip, it's your legs, it's your entire body. So I don't know what you do for a situation like that, for a torn labrum in your other shoulder. I mean, I'm sure he's not getting a lot of rest at night. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure he's like sleeping like weird because he has to keep it in a certain position and everything like that. Came out there in the sling at the press conference and everything like that. It's got to be a difficult situation. So I've been saying this for the last couple of weeks. I say go ahead and let him get some rest. I think we said this way back when Ohio State played, who was it? Kent or Akron. How many weeks ago was that?
I mean, that was a good month ago.
I said that then. Just let him sit for a week. I mean, we saw the difference in between CJ Stroud when he had the same situation.
But it's not going to heal. It will not heal.
No, it's not going to heal. But I'm saying let it heal some. Like, you're only going to let it heal. It's only going to, the pain is going to decrease if you get some rest on it. So do that or not. You know what I'm saying? Like, get the surgery or not. If it requires surgery, you need to go ahead and get it now, unless it's just a season-ending type of surgery. So they're up against him, man. Not only him, the whole team. They got to make a decision. And that's why the GM and the head coach get paid the big bucks. You know, they got to make a decision about this whole thing. You got to bring Baker in, see how he feels about it, everything like that. But ultimately, you got to do what you got to do, because if he's able to get surgery and is able to come back within like 4 to 5 weeks, then you still have a shot. But you don't have a shot if dude out here and is not able to complete any passes more than 15 yards down the field.
All right, it's the Justin Kinder Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine and OGW Energy Resources. On Facebook or in YouTube, Matt says the last time Keenum threw a pass in the NFL, Baker was still at OU. Matt, Keenum threw a few passes against the Cardinals over the weekend, but I think, to your credit, I think what you're saying is like meaningful passes, like actually, you know, and all that. So, and look, the last time Keenum threw passes in the NFL, it's not like he was a top 10 quarterback. So it's like, I don't think that you're really upgrading your quarterback by going to Keenum if you think that Baker Mayfield can't do it. Baker Mayfield, again, still averaging 250 passing yards a game, moving the ball up and down the field. The Browns' struggles right now, and this is what's getting on my damn nerves, is everyone blaming Baker for the Browns' struggles. The Browns' struggles are because they don't have an OL, they don't have Nick Chubb, who is the damn offense, and the defense. You know, if people want to call in and rail on the defense, I'll rail on the defense with you. The defense has been damn embarrassing. They've been a joke. That's why they're losing football games. Everyone just piling on Baker because he's easy to dislike. I get that. But, man, at least use some common sense in your arguments as to why the Browns are losing. The Browns are not losing because of quarterback play. They're losing because their defense can't stop anybody. They're losing because guys are standing wide the frick open in the end zone. They're standing wide the heck open at the 30 and the 40. They're just walking the ball right into the end zone. Like, that's why the Browns are losing. It's not because of quarterback play. So, like, enough. If you're going to insult the Browns, at least use your brains while doing it and actually focus on the areas of the game that they actually need to fix, and that's defense. Because had the Browns been able to get a couple of those stops in the first half, Browns have a chance to win that late in that game over the weekend. That's really what it comes down to. The defense is the problem. It's just like at the beginning of the Ohio State season. CJ Stroud was statistically, and I'm not comparing Baker to Stroud from a college to pro standpoint, but CJ Stroud was dominating. At the beginning, he had that one very bad game against Tulsa, but outside of that, the dude was still statistically one of the top 5 quarterbacks in college football as a freshman right now. And yet people were focusing on the offensive struggles as opposed to realize, well, why is Tulsa moving the ball up and down on Ohio State? But yeah, let's take time to focus on the offense. Like, you guys don't make any sense. It's because you don't know the game. You don't pay attention to the defense. You just worry and want to blame the offense. You want to blame Baker. That's how I know you're all frauds, because you actually aren't really criticizing the Browns. You're just criticizing Baker. If you truly knew what the hell you were talking about when you're watching the Browns struggle, you'd be saying, oh yeah, Baker still played well enough for them to win because it's the defense that's the problem. Yeah, going on a rant now. 518-1410. Kev, let's get to it. Who we have?
We got Shaw on 3.
On 3. Shaw, how are you? Welcome.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Good.
Hey, I'm going to take it back to college a little bit.
Okay, Baker Mayfield, you make the rules. You just decide what we do.
Oh, you're funny today. Anyways, I've said it once before. I'll say it again. I just don't think UC has a chance because, yes, I believe in the first couple rankings, UC will be in the top 4. After that, I think once Ohio State starts beating Michigan State, Penn State, they beat Michigan, I think Ohio State will wind up flipping UC, and then UC will be in the outside looking in all the way to the final. And then that final ranking, I believe it would be Georgia, Oklahoma, Bama, and Ohio State. That's how I see it.
So Bama's going to beat Georgia in the SEC championship game?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
If you remember, I wasn't a believer in Georgia as it was. I mean, yes, they've proven me wrong. They've been better than what I thought they were. But I don't believe Georgia's offense is legit, and I think Bama will have their defensive issues fixed the same as Ohio State will as the season goes on.
I mean, that's legit. I mean, there ain't no argument against it because that's likely to happen. I mean, it's likely that, if Bama beats Georgia, that's 2 spots right there. So then you're at a UC situation. You're at 1 spot, and then you're hanging on by a thread to see what else happens, what else shakes out, because you still got undefeated Oklahoma State still undefeated and everything like that. And we all know a 1-loss champion from the Big Ten is gonna get a spot, so they're gonna be fighting it out. They're gonna, like I said, they gotta hope for a lot of things to go their way. And the more chaos that happens in the Power 5 conferences, the better for UC.
I mean, if Penn State could knock off Ohio State,
no, we don't talk like that.
What I'm saying is I mean, and I get it from your guys' perspective, but I mean, that's the only thing I see happening that could happen for UC to get in. If Penn State loses to Ohio State, I think it's a guarantee that UC doesn't get in. I don't even think it has to get to all the way to championship Saturday for UC to continue fighting. If Ohio State beats Penn State next week, I think that ends it for UC.
Because I don't see UC, because until every single game has been played, as long as Cincinnati wins out, they have a chance. You keep saying they don't have a chance. They actually do have a chance. There's still a lot that can happen between now and then. For as long as they win out, they have a chance. You keep saying they don't have a chance. Last year they didn't have a chance because they didn't have a conference champion, or they didn't have a non-conference resume to make up for the week.
Missed 2 games.
Missed the 2 games, all that fun stuff. I think this year you can't say that they don't have a chance. They do have a chance. You're making up scenarios that haven't even happened yet. You're saying, well, if if Alabama beats Georgia, and then Penn State beats Ohio State, and then a meteor crashes into Earth, and then the dinosaurs come back,
what I'm saying.
and they eat Coach Fickle, and then the Bearcats, blah, 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 blah. You can't say that they can't make it. There's no chance. They do have a chance.
It's me procrastinating, not whatever. I mean, it's me looking forward as a football. I'm not an analyst per se, but you know what I'm saying is I'm just playing the season out the way I think it's going to happen. If Penn State beats Ohio State, yes, you're right. The season still has to play out, but UC still has a shot. But in my eyes, technically, I just don't see it. I don't see the path because UC's not going to be playing anybody good enough that's going to give them enough quality wins down the stretch. Yes, they have the Notre Dame game. Notre Dame isn't – I mean, I'm sorry. That win's just not going to look as good coming down the stretch compared to beating Michigan if Michigan stays undefeated, beating Michigan State, and beating Penn State.
And if you were a lawyer, this wouldn't even be admissible in court.
Why?
Because it's just all conjecture. You're just making up scenarios as you go.
Well, that's how this works. I mean, what else do we have to talk about?
Bearcats have no chance.
In my opinion, they don't. But I mean, I understand.
But it's not a matter of an opinion. The fact is, they do. You could say that I don't think they're going to get there, but you can't say that there's no chance that they get there.
I see your point in that, yes, but me personally, I don't see them having a chance to get in.
That's how you shape your opinion.
I'm sorry, Mr. Lawyer Kenner, but I
got a question for you. Is Michigan gonna handle their business this upcoming week versus Northwestern so we can have an epic big noon kickoff with Michigan and Michigan State next week on the 30th? Are they all gonna handle y'all business like y'all supposed to so I can be highly entertained that whole day?
I believe you're going to be, yes. I mean, my questions for the offense still stand, but they're getting better. If the offense is improving, what is underrated from that team and what nobody wants to talk about is the defense. Will they stand up against Ohio State's offense? Probably not, and that's the biggest joke in the world, but it is what it is. Against everybody else, I think they have a solid shot. Clifford, we don't know the status of Clifford, and Michigan State, they have a running game, but that's what Michigan State's defense stops. Northwestern, I
don't blow it.
Not Nebraska. It's not Nebraska at night. They didn't blow it against Nebraska. That's my only thing. So, to me, this team is different than normal Jim Harbaugh teams. I still don't have a huge bunch of faith in Harbaugh, but this team, there's something different about this team. I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on it, but there's something different. This team has a different fight. They go to Wisconsin, jump around comes on, and they're out there. They're having more fun with it than what Wisconsin is. Nebraska's nighttime thing that they do with the lights and everything, they're out there jumping around. They're having fun with it. And Nebraska punched them in the mouth a little.
Shaw, we're out of time. We got a guest coming up. So basically, Shaw thinks that Michigan has a chance because they like to jump up and down. That's what
We appreciate you, Shaw.
Michigan has a shot because they like to jump up and down. Shaw, I know I was rude there. I'm just giving you a hard time. We have Jason Fitz coming up. Shaw, when you can call back after, and I'll let you finish your point. I should have let you finish. I actually thought you were winding down. I just got a little trigger happy with the drop button. So that was on me. Shaw, you can call back after we get done hanging out with Jason Fitz, and you can finish your point. But I hope you were going somewhere, because all I heard you say was that Michigan has a shot because they like to jump around in Wisconsin. I don't know about you, anyone else, but I mean, if that's what Ohio State has to fear, we just won't play jump around, and I think the Buckeyes have a chance. I mean, I don't know. But no, Sean, I'm just giving you a hard time. Give us a call back coming up here in a little bit. We'll get to you. Let's talk some college football and some NFL with ESPN Radio's Jason Fitz. He joins us next.
Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, right here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
This afternoon will be partly cloudy, a high near 72. Tonight will be partly cloudy as well, a low near 48. And tomorrow will be mainly clear, a high near 75. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Weather is brought to you by Cullet Seal Coating, protecting the asphalt surfaces at your home, office, or commercial property. Introducing infrared patching, a new technology for your property. This service and more at culletsealcoating.com.
College Football Hall of Famer Keith Byers here to tell you about OGW Energy Resources. If you own a home or a business and want to save money, then going solar with OGW Energy Resources is the way to go. OGW Energy Resources have been helping the Miami Valley save money by going solar for over 14 years. There is no better time than now to look into going solar. For more information, check out their website at ogwenergyresources.com. Go solar today. OGW Energy Resources. Your energy, your future. Control it.
Folks, when you feed your dog, does he just stand there and look at you? Make your dog great again with premium foods from Homestead Feed and Supply. If it eats, we can feed it. 1833 North Dayton Lakeview Road, New Carlisle. Tell them the Colonel sent you.
There are many ways to catch the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio, weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. You can catch it live right here on 1410 Wing AM, or you can stream the show at wingam.com. But now we have another way that you can take in the show. You can now watch the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash live on ESPN Dayton's Facebook page. Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio.
All right, and we are back. I'm Justin Kinner hanging out with Kev Nash here on 1410 ESPN Radio. I don't know why I said it like that. I'm Justin Kinner hanging out with Kev Nash. It's Justin Kinner and Kev Nash hanging out with all of you. You guys, you know, a little reckless today, a little careless with the ball. It's like Joe Burrow against the Lions, just kept throwing it to the other team. Yeah, I don't think as a Browns fan I'm in position to be taking shots here. But still, why are so many people obsessed with the Broncos injury report? Like I said, if anyone out there genuinely cares about the Broncos report and wants to know it, I'll give it to you. But you're only asking so that you can discredit me talking about all the Browns injury woes. You're allowed to say injuries are part of football, but what you're not allowed to say is that a team that loses its best running back in Nick Chubb, loses half its offensive line, doesn't have Jarvis Landry, the defense is bad. They're missing some guys on that side. They lose Koromoa. You're not allowed to say that, oh, well, that's just part of it. In the NBA, the Lakers, NBA championship favorites because of LeBron and Anthony Davis. You can't just have them injured and missing games and then tell everyone, well, they still should win. The Lakers should still win because they don't have LeBron James and Anthony Davis. So why do we don't do that in basketball? So why do we do that in football? It's really not that hard to understand why the Browns struggled against the Cardinals over the weekend. I mean, my goodness. It's one thing to have Jarvis out and you still have your OL and Nick Chubb, but you don't have Nick Chubb, you don't have the OL, you don't have Jarvis Landry. Baker Mayfield's playing with one arm, and y'all still have the nerve to sit here and come at me like that. That's why the hater mic exists. The hater mic will always exist as long as the hate exists. So the hater mic is to deter the haters from coming to the show. Just saying. What line we got Jason Fitz on, by the way?
2.
Jason Fitz hanging out with us, ESPN Radio. Jason, am I going to have to use the hater mic with you?
Look, I'm feeling pretty healthy right now, so I feel like things are pretty good. I mean, I got no excuse for me personally. Now, you're not wrong. Like, I think the one thing that we all forget about is context, and context matters to wins and losses. And that's not always the best for first take, but that's real. Like, and at some point, we've got to actually acknowledge, like, all of the variables that make, for example, quarterbacks successful, head coaches successful, systems successful. That just doesn't compartmentalize into a 30-second soundbite, so nobody wants that. And frankly, every fan is willing to give context to their favorite team, but will give no benefit of context to whatever their least favorite team is. That's just part of sports.
Well, and we'll start with NFL, Kev. I know you said we're going to talk college. We'll get to college in a moment. But with that, again, I know I sound like I'm just making excuses, but you could be without Nick Chubb and still have the OL and guys to be able to move the ball up and down the field. But like when you're missing everybody, I mean, I think that does totally change it. If the Tennessee Titans lose Derrick Henry, I do believe that that's not just, injuries are part of the game. I don't think that narrative would exist with the Titans if Derrick Henry was missing. Now, Nick Chubb's really good. I'm not saying he's Derrick Henry, but he's pretty damn close when it comes to the responsibility that he has for how much that offense relies on him. They can get by with even Kareem Hunt with that offensive line, but the OL, the reason the Browns had Super Bowl expectations is because of that OL, because of the run game, because of the receivers. None of those pieces were there on Sunday, and everyone is still sitting there. They're taking the second stringers and holding them to first string expectations. That's what I have a hard time wrapping my head around.
Yeah, and I think part of that comes back to, you mentioned the O-line, and realistically, there's no one method for any of it. What we do typically is we take one team that's actually doing well when they're injured, and we use that as a reason why everybody should. I'm not sure that that's a universal logic that holds true. And, you can look at every situation and say, everybody knows I'm a Raiders fan. Josh Jacobs being hurt for much of the early portion of the season was a definite detriment. Now, that being said, the Raiders had a healthy offensive line, and that healthy offensive line was playing like trash. So I think you have to, combine all of this to get a realistic expectation of where the team is. To me, right now, with the Browns particularly, they are so banged up that all they're trying to do is tread water. And if they can tread water and get to the end of the season where they haven't blown their season, then all of a sudden we'll be saying at the end of the year, why are the Browns playing so much better, without acknowledging that it's the simple fact of when you're super healthy, you play super well. Like, that's not rocket science.
I know it's a short week for the Browns, and Kevin and I have been discussing this. Like, man, this could not have come at a worse time. I'm of the mindset of, I kind of actually think it comes at a good time, mainly because I think Coach Stefanski would have to make some tough decisions, but you have so many guys who are, limited participation in practice. They're still banged up. I would almost take advantage of resting guys and not playing them and sitting them out Thursday night, risking a potential loss. So I'd rather, risk a loss and give guys an extra 10 plus days to rest up and heal up some of their minor injuries than to pick up a win and risk losing guys who are heading into a game less than 50%. How do you view this Thursday night game with the Broncos coming up for the Browns? It's less about who they're playing and more about who they have left on this skeleton roster at this point. How would you suggest they approach this game on Thursday?
I would sit everybody. I'd sit everybody I possibly could, and I'd take advantage of the mini bye. And a couple of things here. One, the Broncos just aren't very good, and the Broncos are falling apart themselves. So, I think you're getting a team that's in a huge turmoil themselves. Can they even right the ship and be good in a couple of days? God only knows. But the other side of it is, to your point, this is a 17-game season. The mini-bye is incredibly important that you get that time after the Thursday game. I'd be resting everybody and just saying, hey, we'll live to see another day on this one. Like, you guys can do whatever on this Thursday night. If we get a win, that's a bonus. But in a 17-game season, what matters more, beating the Broncos or having some semblance of health, I don't know, for the month after that? And I'm always going to err on the side of keeping my guys healthy.
Fitz, I got one more NFL question for you. If someone makes a bet with you before the NFL season starts and his team goes under major injuries and they happen to still be injured when your two teams play and your team wins, don't you expect that person that you bet to honor the bet?
No, yeah, 1,000%. Bets are like Vegas. Like you don't get to place the bet before the season and then come out during the season and be like, hey, I didn't know this was going to happen by then. You know, I mean, there's certainly, you don't get to walk it back, you know? So, frequently, the funny thing is, and you got to be careful when you walk it back, because then you could be picking and choosing. Like, you know, I every year I have a bet between the Raiders and Broncos with L. Duncan. It would have been easy for me to try and go in and walk that back before Sunday, and I'm glad I didn't. You know, you got to just stand there and say you got to take your lumps when you take them and get your wins when you get them. But who's on the field doesn't matter when you make the bet early. That's why you got to wait.
Gotta wait, man. Purple hair on the way for Kenner.
Yeah, I see what you did. You set me up perfectly there. Jason, we got to bring you behind the curtain a bit. A few weeks ago, a caller got mad at me. He called in. He waited on hold for like a good 40 minutes just to tell me that he hates me, he hates my show, and he hates my Megan Rapinoe haircut. And I said, well, my hair is not like Megan Rapinoe's. My hair is not purple. So we made this. So he, of course, he's a Bengals fan, and said that if I agreed to the bet that if the Bengals beat the Browns, said, okay, fine, I'll give you the purple hair because I'm that confident that the Browns will beat the Bengals. But so now I'm in trouble because yesterday I was a little emotional and I said, no, I'm taking that bet off the table that if that's the Browns team that plays the Bengals here in a few weeks, I ain't going to color my hair purple for nothing. So, I'm being a hypocrite.
Well, here's the hint that you didn't know you needed, though. Like, you can just buy purple hairspray that washes out after one use. You can be purple for like 15 minutes and then wash it out. They sell it like all the party stores. You can buy it on Amazon.
Halloween
just get
too.
Some purple hairspray, and then bam, it's one wash and then you're done. That's easy. You paid off the bet. And it doesn't even hurt you.
Yeah, I was going to say, well, last year, if the Browns were to beat the Chiefs in the playoffs, Jason Fitz would have had the chance to say, okay, we don't owe you that steak dinner because the backup quarterback was playing for the Chiefs and not actually Patrick Mahomes. So,
and also, by the way, like, you never told anybody you'd take a picture with purple hair either. I'm the best or weaseling out of best here. Like, get the purple hairspray, show the picture of the purple hairspray, and then just make the world believe you did it.
And just say that's All right, we got ESPN Radio's Jason Fitz with it. You know, I can tell you're a Raiders fan. You love Las Vegas. You talk a lot about betting. I mean, there's a lot of bets you seem to be involved in. I mean, I'm just saying.
I never win, though. That's the problem, brother.
Let's transition to college football as we're, of course, getting closer and closer to the first college football playoff poll. I want to paint a scenario for you for the Cincinnati Bearcats, Jason, because I think for the Bearcats, it's a lot harder to jump into the top four than it's going to be to fall out of the top four as long as you win out and do what you're supposed to. But do you see the committee potentially finding themselves in a situation here in a few weeks, assuming Cincinnati continues winning, that they know that you can't just put an undefeated team in the top four and then they remain undefeated? You can't take that undefeated team out without facing major backlash. Do you see, like, everyone believes that UC deserves to be in the top four? And I say everyone, I get it. I'm being a little overzealous there, but most people believe Cincinnati should be in that top four with what they've accomplished to this point. If they are undefeated in that very first college football playoff poll and win out, do you wonder if the committee says, man, we can't put ourselves in that position that we have to keep them out, even though we've kept them in the playoff poll the whole stretch? We can't keep them in from the first poll all the way to the end and then take them out because then we want to decide that those other teams have better resumes. Do you see a scenario where the committee might be a little hesitant to put the Bearcats in the first playoff poll despite being in the top four of every other one?
Yes, and I think that's the problem. That part of everything you just explained is real logic, and I believe that. But the problem for me is that if not now, then when, right? And so in my mind, Cincinnati in this first poll needs to clearly be above everybody else because this is a little bit tortoise in the hare. Like the runway left for Cincinnati isn't the best. We all know that. The runway left for some of these Big Ten teams, I mean, it's substantial. The fact that they're all going to play each other could mean that I think the broadcast said cannibalize each other is one way to put it. But if anybody goes through that gauntlet clearly, then they're going to become a playoff team. Alabama obviously still has the runway in front of them to become a playoff team. So you can continue to look at the runway ahead for most programs and say, okay, they can make up ground. Cincinnati's not going to be able to make up ground. So they need to start far ahead. But my concern echoes yours. Is the committee going to be afraid to put them in far ahead and then suddenly eke them out at the end when they've done nothing but win what's left on their schedule? I think the committee's in a bit of a lose-lose situation. I still think, though, this is a year because there's been so much chaos and it's looked so questionable everywhere else, that it's so questionable who the number 2 and 3 and 4 teams are in the country, that it makes it super easy for the committee to say, no, it's clearly Cincinnati. and nobody's going to question it the same way they would in some years. So I think the plan has sort of laid out. The yellow brick road is there that gets Cincinnati into the college football playoff if they win out.
Fitz, this Coach O situation down at LSU is just crazy to me. Obviously, they won the championship with that crazy team with Joe Burrow and everything like that. And in the midst of that, he was getting divorced. And with divorce, a lot of money. And then last season, according to the articles, he was bringing women that he was dating to practice and their kids and everything like that, trying to pick up women at gas stations and everything like that. What's your thoughts about this whole situation at LSU and Coach O?
Yeah, I think more and more that's going to start to leak out as everybody tries to make sense of what's happened. And frankly, Coach O's at that spot that a lot of, he's a single guy about town. He's the head coach of LSU football. Like he's out there trying to, that's better than swiping left and swiping right. I get it. But I think that LSU ultimately, number one, was getting ahead. Like my honest opinion on all of this LSU stuff is they're just trying to get ahead of everybody else to make sure that every single coach, whether it's Joe Brady or whether it's Fickle, like every coach knows that job is open and that job is there for the taking. So they got ahead of it and they're getting out of it. And the opportunity here to separate themselves from Coach O is a pretty easy one. And Coach O is going to have to decide what he wants to do next. Because I just don't know that most people believe in Coach O as a head coach. The problem is, I believed in Coach O as a representative of that community. Like when I was down there with game day, LSU echoes Coach O. So like, would anybody else come into that and really get the people the way that Orgeron did? I don't know the answer to that, but also will Orgeron go anywhere and be a really natural fit? As like, he'd have to take a step down. So I hope he kept enough of that money through the divorce that he's comfortable not working, because I'm not sure he's going to get the opportunity he wants for a long time.
So what is it going to be? Is it going to be a Dabo? Is it going to be a Urban Meyer? Is it going to be a Jimbo Fisher? Jimbo Fisher was the OC back there when they won a national championship under Nick Saban. It's a lot of coaches out there that are kind of connected to LSU. Who do you think is going to ultimately come away with that job?
I think they're going to go with Joe Brady. I think that what they're going to try and do is LSU is going to turn around and say, hey, we won a national championship because of Burrow and Brady, and we're going to bring that creativity back. And Joe Brady going to have to make the decision whether he wants to be a head coach in the NFL or in college, because I think he's going to get offers from both sides this offseason. So, I still think that Joe Brady and what he did for a national championship is reason enough for LSU to overpay him, and I'm not sure everybody else will overpay him. So that's why it makes the most sense. I have a hard time seeing Jimbo leave A&M because, frankly, they're paying him so stinking much at this point, and he's in a situation where even if he doesn't win the SEC, all he has to do is beat Alabama every couple of years, and that's enough to keep his job secure. I don't think Dabo leaves Clemson anytime soon, because what's he leaving for? Like, at the end of the day, he can do what he wants to do at Clemson, and they'll always match any dollars that go anywhere else. So I don't think LSU has a real leg up in those situations. I think, it gets more interesting when you're talking about Joe Brady. It gets more interesting when you're talking about Mel Tucker up at Michigan State, who's clearly said he's not interested in the job, but what else is he going to say? Like, those are the guys that I think would be looking to move.
I can't believe that that's what you guys think are the biggest headlines out of this. Can we focus on the fact that of all the places you could hit on women, the gas station is where Ed O decided to take out his game? I mean, I haven't been single in a long, long time, but I don't think I've ever hit on a girl at a gas station before. I mean, what he just said this, you Tiger fan? Like, what? I mean, how does Ed O hit on a woman at a gas station? Good for him, man.
Just like that. Look, if you're in a band, the only pickup line is, hey, I'm in a band. Like, that's the only pickup line. If you're the head coach of LSU football, the only pickup line is, man, I'm the head coach of LSU. Don't know if you heard of me like that.
We just won the national championship.
Yeah, just won that championship. I'm getting gas at the local, Tiger Mart. I'm taking care of business. Let's go for it, Coach O.
Oh my goodness! I mean, that to me was the craziest part about that story. But nonetheless, the Ed O run in LSU obviously coming to an end, and even that news breaking after they got that win over the past weekend. I also can't think of another scenario where I guess it's not really the same as Urban Meyer. It's not at all, but where a coach is told that they have no interest in bringing him back. Urban resigned at Ohio State. Can you think of another example where a coach and a university parted ways, but they announced it in the middle of the season and then they have to go back out and still try to keep recruiting? I mean, that's such a tough spot for LSU to be in. You would have to think that everything as far as planning for the future is on pause for right now. There's no more recruiting. You're not recruiting anymore if you're at O and his team right now. I feel like that was a bad decision on LSU's part for the timing.
Yeah, all they can be doing, that's why I think they're getting ahead of somebody, whether it's USC or whether it's an NFL job. Like, they're getting ahead of somebody for long-term job placement. There's somebody in their process has heard that the guy they want is going to go somewhere else. And so they decided to get ahead of it. That's the only way it makes sense. Otherwise, you're right. What they've done is they've absolutely cut the head off of their entire program, especially with the transfer portal being what it is. I mean, you got to be careful when you announce a coach is leaving that recruited somebody, because a lot of these kids are just going to look for opportunities to transfer. And the trickle-down effect on this is, obviously now you've got coaches all over the country having to answer questions about wanting to go work for LSU. So, that's got to be part of their logic. But it's the only way I can make it sense. If they did all of this and then they end up hiring just a guy off the street that they could have gotten anyway, then this was a stupid move to do it at this time for LSU.
ESPN Radio's Jason Fitz, awesome enough to hang out with us here today. Jason, thanks so much, man. Enjoy the rest of your week. Take care.
Appreciate you guys. Have a great week.
Peace.
All right, that was Jason Fitz. Appreciate him hanging out with us here today. We'll step away for a few moments, and we'll kind of jump back into some of the conversation points with him on that. But yeah, that Edo storyline, one of the stranger ones to come out of college football. But you got Edo at a gas pump, filling up. Go Tigers.
Still getting paid that $16 million.
Hey, baby, you a Tiger fan? You know who I am? I'm Edo. Edo Orgeron. You want to come to Tiger practice?
Bringing the girlfriends, multiple girlfriends, and their kids to practice.
Hey, don't hate the player.
Oh.
Hate the game.
I'm not.
Let's be real. I mean, like, if I ran a football team, I'd like to shout you, national championship, baby. I mean, come on over, check it out. Go Tigers. To use the behind-the-scenes access to, to woo. Woo.
Yeah, that's exactly what he was doing.
I mean, all right, folks, we'll be back in a moment. More of the Justin Kidder Show with Kev Nash next.
It's the Justin Kidder Show with Kev Nash. Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Wake up to Wendy's and get a bacon or sausage, egg, and Swiss breakfast croissant for just $1.99. Made with fresh cracked eggs and served on a hot buttery croissant that's fluffy enough to sleep on. It's time to wakey. Hit the Wendy's drive-thru and get your bacon or sausage, egg, and Swiss breakfast croissant for just $1.99. That's a better breakfast for just $1.99. Only at Wendy's. We got you.
Limited time only. U.S. price and participation may vary. Third-party delivery prices may vary. Not following the combo.
Frickin' football is here. Frickers has the games on all the screens, and you score with savings. Enjoy your favorite ice-cold domestic draft personal pitchers for only $6.50. A 48-ounce personal pitcher for only $6.50. And enjoy a plate of your favorite frickin' nachos for just $7. Take your frickin' pick. Frickin' chicken nachos, Mississippi barbecue nachos, or Nacho Supreme, only $7. This season, don't just be a football fan, be a Nacho fan. At the home for fun, food, sports, and spirits, Frickers.
Any supplier can drop a box outside your door. But if you want a partner who delivers great customer service too, rely on Cintas. Your dedicated service reps can deliver what you need to help your business run smoothly. From essential cleaning products to hygienically cleaned apparel, fire protection services to first aid and safety supplies. That service you can't get from a box.
Oh, I'm ready!
Visit Cintas.com and get ready for the workday.
Whether you're vaccinated or not, it's important to know the symptoms of COVID and its variants. Fever is the leading sign, and only the Exergen temporal scanner thermometer has been proven accurate with more than 100 clinical studies. Non-contact thermometers have no clinical evidence behind them and cannot be relied on. Be vigilant and seek medical advice at the first sign of fever. Be accurate with Exergen. Learn more at Exergen.com.
Watch the NHL on TNT tomorrow night starting at 7 Eastern as the Boston Bruins take on the Philadelphia Flyers, followed by the St. Louis Blues versus the Vegas Golden Knights. The NHL on TNT.
Call William Brockman & Sons Heating and Air Conditioning at 937-222-8638 for reliable Lennox products that can make the air in your home absolutely perfect. Ohio license number 14911.
Gathering your family around the dinner table for a home-style meal from Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken is the perfect way to end a fall day. At Lee's, homestyle happens here with our 12-piece family meal for only $32.99. You'll get 12 mixed pieces of Lee's fresh, never-frozen Famous Recipe Chicken that's honey-dipped, hand-breaded, and pressure-cooked to perfection, served up with 3 large sides and 6 fluffy biscuits. Get a home-style meal made easy with Lee's 12-piece family meal for only $32.99. Only at Lee's, famous for chicken.
Hi, this is Eddie Sorrell, Service Manager, Germain Honda of Beaver Creek. When you need service, we're here Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursdays from 6 to 8 and Saturdays from 7 to 5. We proudly offer a state-of-the-art facility with factory-trained technicians, clean waiting room, and service department. Loaner cars are available during service and free alignment checks with any service. Be sure to stop in and ask for our $39.95 oil change special. Germain Honda of Beaver Creek, State Route 35, east of 675, between Xenia and Beaver Creek.
Hey, here to tell you about my friends at Cordell Transportation. They're now hiring Class A CDL drivers and offering a $5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right, a $5,000 sign-on bonus. Home daily, dedicated lanes, and no-touch freight. Brand new equipment as well. Medical, dental, vision, and company-paid life insurance. Call Cody right now. Apply online at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
There's never any FOMO with the iHeartRadio app. You won't ever have to miss out on your favorite shows and contests with this radio station again. Radio 24/7, 365. We're here when you want us. Stay connected and listen anywhere when you download the free iHeartRadio app.
This is the sound of a popular American motorcycle. It's the sound of freedom, the open road, really good times. And this is what it sounds like with a drunk guy in it. How do you like the sound of that? Cops are cracking down on drunk motorcycle riders. If you ride drunk, you will get caught and you will get arrested. Drunk riding. Over the limit, under arrest. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Transportation.
If you need new roofing, siding, or gutters, skylights, or patio enclosures, if you're a homeowner or business and need someone you can trust, don't take a chance. Enhance with Lance. Lance Roofing and Siding in Fairborn has been satisfying customers since 1993 and hold an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. Lance Roofing and Siding, 8460 Dayton Springfield Road in Fairborn. Call for a free estimate at 864-2722. That's 864-2722 or online at lanceroofing.com.
When you needed your mom, she was always there with the Vicks Vapor Rub. She used that soothing scent to calm you. And her mom used it to calm her. And her mom, well, you get the idea. Vicks Vapor Rub's always been there. It always made you feel better. And today, it still does. Bring back those childhood memories with the comfort and care only Vicks Vapor Rub can bring. Vicks Vapor Rub, family tradition for a reason.
The moment you fire up a Gator UTV, the engine has your full attention. The completed job is on the horizon, and the trail meets its match. Just like that, you made short work of a long to-do list. Run with us on a John Deere Gator UTV. With effortless four-wheel drive at the flip of a switch and our smoothest shifting transmission yet. Nothing runs like a Deere. Search John Deere Gator for more.
Whatever you're into, you'll find it at Audible. Listen to thrillers, motivation, comedy, and more with podcasts, bestsellers, and originals all in one app. Sign up and start free at audible.com.
If you are push mowing your yard using an inefficient lawn tractor, or your current zero-turn spends more time in the shop than mowing your grass, it's time you look at the Hustler Zero-Turn Lawnmower. Residential mowers from Hustler are built like tanks and drive like sports cars. All Hustler mowers have fabricated welded steel decks. Don't settle on cheap units with flimsy stamped decks from big box stores. See Small Engine Service Pros, and we'll guide you to the right mower for your property and your budget. 2030 North Dayton Lakeview Road, Route 235 in New Carlisle.
Home delivery becoming a bit boring? Then isn't it time to visit one of Marion's Piazza's 9 Dayton area locations for some award-winning pizza? Marion's has been delivering the taste, the quality, and the value for over 50 years. So it comes as no surprise that Marion's Pizza has been voted Dayton's best pizza in over 40 local surveys and ranked #1 in the nation by Pizza Today magazine. Next time, why not come in for the pizza that really delivers? A Marion's Pizza. After all, we at Marion's believe that quality speaks for itself.
Looking for a career and not just a job? Then Dayton Progress is looking for you. Dayton Progress is the leading international manufacturer of tools and tooling components for the metal stamping industries and has immediate openings for their entry-level machinists. No prior experience is required, and Dayton Progress will train you, starting with the basics. They offer competitive wages starting at $15 per hour and up to $18 per hour with prior experience. New hires are eligible for merit increases after 90 days of employment. They also offer private health care, including vision and dental, free life insurance, a contributory 401k, promotions from within, company service recognition, and 100% tuition reimbursement to local state colleges. Dayton Progress is a great place to work and has been a Dayton landmark for over 70 years. Apply today by emailing your resume to jobs@DaytonProgress.com. That's jobs@DaytonProgress.com. Dayton Progress is an equal opportunity employer.
Watch the NHL on TNT tomorrow night starting at 7 Eastern as the Boston Bruins take on the Philadelphia Flyers, followed by the St. Louis Blues versus the Vegas Golden Knights. The NHL on TNT.
Whether you look forward to working on your outdoor space or for what comes after, Battery Power made by Steel has the outdoor tools to get you there. From the reliable power of our chainsaws and mowers to the quiet performance of our blowers and trimmers, enjoy more of the sounds of fall with the AK Homeowner series of battery tools starting at $199.99. Real Steel. Find yours at steeldealers.com. All prices MSRP. Available participating dealers while supplies last. Maybe you love the smell of freshly cut grass. Maybe you love the aroma of steaks on the grill. Steel has the outdoor power equipment to get you there. From the dependable performance of our leaf blowers to the legendary power of our chainsaws. Find your perfect backyard with outdoor power tools starting at just $139.99. Real Steel. Find yours at over 10,000 local dealers and at steeldealers.com. All prices MSRP. Available participating dealers while supplies last.
WING 1410 Dayton.
Knock, knock. Trick or treat. Happy Halloween.
Dayton's ESPN Radio. We're live. We're local.
What are you gonna miss? He's trick him out.
We're Dayton's ESPN radio station. Now, let's send it to the WING studios for Dayton's only local sports talk show. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
All right, welcome back. Hour 3 of the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine and OGW Energy Resources. I hope everyone's had a great day. The hater mic has been in full swing today. I haven't used it as much as we did yesterday, but not as many haters. When the haters go away, the hater mic goes away. But I have a feeling that's not going to be the case. Browns have the Broncos coming up on Thursday night. We just talked about it with Jason Fitz as far as what the Browns should do. You're on the ropes. You're 3-3. Thursday, many people are calling it a must-win. I don't think it's a must-win. I think it's a stop the bleeding win. To lose 3 straight. Look, at this point, it's hard for me. Like, the reason I'm getting so irritated with this is because I can't look at this team and hold them to the Super Bowl expectation. Because the team that had the Super Bowl expectations, the reason they had Super Bowl expectations was because of Nick Chubb, was because of Jarvis Landry, was because of that offensive line, was because, you had Baker Mayfield, who was supposed to take that next step forward and build on what he did last year under Kevin Stefanski under year 1. So as we currently sit here, it's kind of hard. I'm hearing Dan Orlovsky and some other guys on ESPN say that the Browns are the most disappointing team in the NFL this year. And I'm like, I think it's a disappointing. There's a lot of things that are disappointing about the way the roster has just been torn down. Like, if the Browns were healthy in doing this, I would be louder than everybody else. Like, that's the one thing you cannot say about me is I don't try to paint a picture of a bad team being good. And I just think that the Browns being bad right now, it's not because of bad play or guys not living up to expectations. We could say that about the defense, but offensively, if the Browns came into this season with this roster, if they came into the 2021 season without Nick Chubb, without Jarvis Landry, without the 2 guards, without the offensive line being intact, nobody would be talking about the Browns having expectations of anything. So that's why I get so frustrated, and we move the goalposts of common sense around. Like, I get it that injuries are a part of the game, but at the end of the day, it just comes down to, the injuries are part of the game. But when you're talking about these large amounts of injuries, now keep in mind, you talk about Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens. Well, the Ravens have injuries. And Lamar is doing what Baker should do. Well, that's not the same thing because you got to look at what both their roles are within their respective offenses. Lamar Jackson is the Ravens offense. Baker Mayfield's a part of the Browns offense. Like Baker Mayfield is, people, and they try to say it in a bad way. Baker Mayfield, he's so dependent on Nick Chubb. Yes, he is. The way that Dak Prescott is dependent on Zeke Elliott and Pollard in the run game, the way that Joe Burrow is dependent on Jamar Chase. Like, I'm not taking a shot at Jamar. That's just how these quarterbacks are. Aaron Rodgers is dependent on Devontae Adams. Like, there's not a quarterback in the NFL that is carrying their team that doesn't have weapons around them outside of Lamar Jackson. And you want to know why? It's because Lamar Jackson is the team's offense. Oh, but look at all the running backs out for the Ravens. Again, the reason the Ravens are always the top rushing team in football is because you're getting your typical. If you take Lamar Jackson's running stats out, the Ravens are a fringe top 10 rushing team. That's not a shot at the Ravens. There's a lot. I mean, the Packers are a good run. They have a good run game. Not a great run game. It's a solid run game. The Raiders have a solid run game when Jacobs is healthy. Not a great run game, but it's solid. Okay, but if you take Lamar Jackson's running ability and compound it on top of your regular, 1,000-yard back, of course you're going to look like the most elite rushing team in football. But that's because of Lamar Jackson adding that extra element to what's already a pretty solid run game on top of that. So am I saying that the running backs being out for the Ravens, that they don't matter? Would J.K. Dobbins make a difference? Of course he would. All I'm saying is that the reason that it's easier for the Ravens to continue having success is because the main guy that's the catalyst of their success is still there. The running backs being out for the Ravens, it's not a good thing for him, but it also, Lamar Jackson's not dependent on J.K. Dobbins. He's not dependent on those guys. They help him and he helps them, but Lamar Jackson does not need J.K. Dobbins to be Lamar Jackson. Baker Mayfield needs Nick Chubb to be Baker Mayfield. The Browns need Nick Chubb to be a good football team. The Ravens need J.K. Dobbins to be an effective football team. Like they need him, but they don't need him the way that they need Lamar. The Browns could be without Baker Mayfield. Case Keenum can come in as long as he's still handing it off to Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt behind that offensive line. I don't think that the Browns skip too much of a beat. I think Baker brings a lot more to the table than people give him credit for, more than what Case Keenum would. But I do believe that because Baker Mayfield is not the offense, that they can survive without Baker Mayfield if he had to miss a little bit of time if you have Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt in that offensive line. What you cannot have is Baker Mayfield without a couple pieces on that offensive line and without Nick Chubb. So that's why I'm not just making up excuses because my team's losing. No, there is a difference. For one more example, Kev, the Tennessee Titans. Okay, Ryan Tannehill. He had that great year a few years ago. He got paid the big bucks, and then they gave, Derrick Henry the big bucks. And they went out and got Julio Jones. All right, they have A.J. Brown. But as crazy as this sounds, their offense isn't a passing offense even with those two. They are so dependent on Derrick Henry. That's not a bad thing. That's just how they win football games. That's how they won last night. So if you take Derrick Henry off the Titans, guess what? That's not next man up. No one's going to say next man up with the Titans if Derrick Henry misses time. And that's the same thing. I'm not necessarily saying Nick Chubb is Derrick Henry, but Nick Chubb is Derrick Henry to the Cleveland Browns. Derrick Henry is the Titans offense. Nick Chubb is the Browns offense. J.K. Dobbins wasn't the Ravens offense. So to sit here and say that all the running backs being out for the Ravens is why they shouldn't be successful, I agree with that does impact their ability to be able to be an effective football team. But at the end of the day, Lamar Jackson is the Baltimore Ravens. Nick Chubb is the Cleveland Browns. Derrick Henry is the Tennessee Titans. So, Kev, that's why I say I'm acknowledging injuries are part of the game, but I do believe the injuries to whom matters. You can have key pieces out, but if you have the key piece out, the Browns are not the Browns without Nick Chubb. The Ravens are not the Ravens without Lamar Jackson. The Titans aren't the Titans without Derrick Henry. If Derrick Henry's out for the Titans, we're not saying next man up. We're saying, oh, man, that's their offense. That's who they are. So I think that's why I'm so defensive about this situation. If Baker was out and you had Nick Chubb and these guys, I wouldn't be making the injury excuse. But I do believe that the injuries have got to the point with this Cleveland team as of right now that we can't overlook the significance of the guys that are out. It's not just any guy that's out. It's Nick Chubb, who is the Browns' Derrick Henry, who is the Browns' Lamar Jackson.
NFL is a war of attrition.
Mm-hmm.
We learned that a long time ago. We saw that with the Super Bowl last year. Everybody was saying, like, all right, if Kansas City had 2 starting caliber tackles, they would pick them to win the Super Bowl. But everybody was like, I'm kind of scared because they got Joe Blow out there blocking. And guess what? Joe and Blow are no longer in the NFL. You know what I'm saying? That's why they spent big money in the offseason with Tooney, traded a draft pick to get Orlando Brown Jr., use their second round pick on Creed Humphrey out of Oklahoma. So they invested a ton in that offensive line. And it's a war of attrition. The healthier team throughout the whole season is going to win. It's going to win. Like, look how healthy that Tampa Bay got at the end of the season. Look at AB. He played in that game versus the Washington football team in the playoffs. He didn't play in the Green Bay game. He didn't play in the Saints game. Came back for the Super Bowl.
And guess
scored
who was
a touchdown.
wide the F open right there.
Scored a touchdown.
Yep.
So who else came back in time for the playoffs? A guy that we know because of his connection to Ohio State, because his dad, Winfield Jr., he came back for the playoff run. And oh man, he's hitting people. He's crushing people. He's making it difficult for you guys to complete passes. So health is a factor in everything. My whole argument for everything in this, nobody cares, because every team at one point or another throughout the season is going to have injuries.
Yeah, but I don't hear that nobody cares. That doesn't change the reality.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Like last year with COVID and everything like that, that's why I was at it that this season is just clunky. It's weird. Like, I believe, who was it? The Ravens that played 3 games in 12 days. Mm-hmm. Nobody cared because it's the NFL. Like the NFL, the league themselves doesn't even care. You know what I'm saying? And fans,
the Browns are in the midst of a 3 games in 11-day stretch. That's not a boo-hoo thing, but the timing could not have been worse considering where they're at within their injury-plagued problems right now.
So if the league itself isn't going to care, the fan base isn't going to care. And furthermore, it's like my brother told me a long time ago when I used to be like, oh, that's not fair. This is not fair. Nobody cares. There's people out there on other fan bases that root against your team that is hoping that people get hurt. So at the end of the day, we can say and have rational explanations as opposed to excuses why this is happening or a reason why this is happening. But ultimately, people ain't going to care. It just is what it is.
Well, no, it's not. It is what it is. Because at the end of the day, like, we can't just take out, like, that's the problem with like this last election and everything else. Like, the results are what they are. And we just, because it's not what we like, we just say, well, that it's not real. It didn't happen. It's fake. It was blah, blah, blah. So, and because like the Browns are losing and there's an actual real reason why they're losing, people just sit there and say, don't care, don't care, don't care. When there's actual proof right there as to why the team, again, this roster comes in and my blood pressure's getting all up.
You know what to do in the
my
chat.
Goodness. It is what, and so then you have Gary Toole. Gary Toole, when you're cool and nice, you're just Gary Toole Jr. But when you're trolling like this, you're Gary the Toole Jr. And Gary the Toole Jr. says, you've been adamant about how Baker is a top 5. So yes, Baker is, in your opinion, as big of a part of the offense as Lamar. No, I have never, Kev, you could back me up on this. I have never once, not even on my drunkest or highest state, ever said that Baker Mayfield is a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. I have never said that, ever. So,
no, you said he could be a top 10 quarterback.
I said, yeah, I said, last year, I believe he was a top 10 quarterback. I said he was a top 10 quarterback last year. But no, I've never said top 5. And bottom line is Aaron Rodgers, and some of these guys like Tom Brady, with all the weapons Tom Brady has. Look, I mean, Patrick Mahomes goes out in the playoffs and they won a playoff game. Why? Because they have so many weapons out there that, like, they're not as good without Patrick Mahomes, but like, you can get by if your quarterback's going to miss some time if you have a good backup. But there are guys that make the quarterback the quarterback. Like, you know what I mean? Like, Patrick Mahomes is great, don't get me wrong, but you couldn't have dropped him on the Bengals roster a few years ago and expected him to do what he did the first couple of years with the Chiefs. Like, Patrick Mahomes was able to be Patrick Mahomes because of who was around him. And I believe that that's like Baker Mayfield is who he is because of what's around him. People always bring that up like that's a knock on Baker. Well, he needs OBJ and Jarvis and Chubb. Yeah. Stupid.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
But
the NFL isn't like the NBA where, like, oh man, you can drop this person on this team and they're going to get their 25 points a game no matter who they play with, and they're going to be that dominant player on their own. In the NFL, you're dependent on a lot of things, not just your wide receivers catching the ball. You're dependent on your offensive line. You're dependent on your running backs picking up blitzes and everything like that. It's a very dependent sport in every aspect. Just like a wide receiver, you're dependent on the quarterback getting you the ball at the right time in the right spot. So he's dependent on the offensive line giving that quarterback protection. It's the ultimate team game because one person can't shine without the other unless you're like I don't know, Von Miller or Myles Garrett, just a defensive end who says, I eat quarterbacks. You know what I'm saying? Like, those are really like the only guys that just really can just do whatever they want to do. But especially offensively, you're definitely dependent on everybody else. I mean, look at Najee Harris. Like, everybody agrees, like, oh man, this dude is a specimen. Like, he could be like a Derrick Henry and everything like that. Well, he's averaging 3.5 yards a carry because the offensive line is garbage. You know what I'm saying? He's dependent on the offensive line, at least playing to a even stalemate so he can, you know, showcase his talents. But he's not having that help from his other teammates. It's the ultimate team dependent sport.
Yeah, so that's why, you know, people always come out, they try to come up with these crazy excuses to discredit some of these guys, and I just don't get it. So earlier when you said that, you know, people don't care, you're not the only one that said that. I mean, even last night on social media, people were like, well, even if that is the case, people don't care, they don't want to hear that. And that's fine. But if you don't want to hear it, what you don't get to do is comment about why the Browns should still win, though, because you don't. The logic is not there. You can't sit there and say, I expect a team with no Chubb, no Jarvis, no offensive line, one arm bag. You can't say you expect them to win. You can't say you expect them to win, but then don't care why they lost. Like, you can't have it both ways. If you don't care about the injuries, you don't care about that, then you shouldn't care about the result of the game. For instance, the Broncos. I'm not a Broncos aficionado. I know that they're banged up. Even at 100%, there's still a lot of things that has to go right for that football team to win. I don't care that they're injured this Thursday night. All I care about is my team and how my team is going to look on Thursday night. But I do know this. If the Browns beat the beat-up Broncos on Thursday night, I'm not going to pump my chest on Friday and say, see, this Brown team's legitimate. They don't need all their pieces to be healthy to win football games. That means that they capitalized on a team that's just in much bad shape as the Browns are. What are you laughing at?
Von Miller. I don't know who the Browns tackle I'm going up against is, but I'm going to kill him.
Oh,
Von Miller.
Oh, okay.
Von Miller Jr., that is. That's his full government.
Okay. Okay. Anyway.
Super Bowl MVP Von Miller, by the way.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Wow. Good for him. But see, I like it. Talks back, get him all fired up, whatever. I don't really believe in bulletin board material, but whatever, it is what it is. So Kelly Rogers on Facebook, Kev, says in a few years when Lamar Jackson slows down, it is not such a running threat. He will be forgotten. Kelly, look, I would have agreed with you a year ago that because I thought he was too one-dimensional, but his passing numbers are through the roof this year, actually. Like, he's I couldn't get on board even with the MVP. I feel like he won the MVP because he was unlike anything we've seen in the NFL right now. Like, there's no one else that even comes close to doing what he does. So I feel like that's how he won that MVP that year. Sounds like I'm discrediting what he did, but ultimately the job of the quarterback is to throw the football. He wasn't a very effective throwing quarterback. You can't say that this year. There's really not a flaw in his game. And you add the fact that he's literally single-handedly carrying a team that is beat up all around him. Like, I have nothing to say about Lamar. Like, I hate how good he is. Like, my biggest knock on Lamar is I hate how good he is. Like, that's all I got to say. And Kev knows the last couple of years, I was always trying to find something with Lamar to nitpick. There's nothing to nitpick right now. Like, he can, moving forward, start to struggle throwing the football again. But Kev, he's decent completion percentage, a lot of yards, a lot of touchdowns. He's running.
Should have 3 more passing touchdowns.
Like,
Hollywood Brown could stop dropping them.
It's so, like, I'm all for it. Like, Lamar is the real deal.
Lamar's the truth.
The real deal.
And the thing about Lamar is the evolution. And I know this guy that I'm about to bring up is a Hall of Famer, and ain't no question about it. But like Steve Young, like, if you ever saw Steve Young back when he was the backup for the San Francisco 49ers, like, this is how he developed. Like, he was in the USFL, he was with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and he was just like looked at as like, oh man, we about to move him to running back, we're about to move him to wide receiver, because he was just that athletic as a player. And he stayed at his craft. He stayed working with his craft. He developed. He sat behind Joe Montana. And then when it was his time to shine, he was out there slinging dimes. And then when he had to, he bounced. He used his legs. And ultimately, I'm sure that's where, the Ravens want Lamar to get. They want him to get to a point where, like, all right, man, the legs, like, all right, we only going to use those on third down. You know what I'm saying? And it's a gradual process. And I commend him for working on his skills. And, it's a gradual process. And even the game against the Chargers, like, it was like hiccups in there. But, when the defense is starting to look good again, that's scary hours. That's scary hours for everybody in the AFC. If the Ravens defense starts to play like the Ravens defense, it might happen. It might happen. Like, it might be them in Buffalo in the AFC Championship game, man.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what they do to the Bengals this week.
Oh, you're rooting for Lamar this week.
I'm a big Lamar fan.
4 interception performance.
Didn't I tell you that purple is my favorite color? Purple's my favorite color. I'm just saying, like, it is what it is. But no, big game coming up for the Bengals this week against the Baltimore Ravens. Some of the crybaby Bengals fans that took offense to me saying that I was worried about the Bengals matchup in a trap game. That was a trap game. They won the trap game. They passed that. I will give the Bengals credit here for such a young roster, Kev. For a second-year quarterback who just literally played his 16th full game in the NFL. Jamar Chase is a rookie. A lot of new faces on that offensive line, all that fun stuff. Okay, they're not making young team mistakes. I will give them that. I will, the Bengals are they're winning it, like they are doing what they're supposed to. But a lot of times, young teams like that, like you always hear people say they have to learn how to win and close out games. The Bengals have actually had a habit of being very rusty and slow the first half, and then whatever it is that 12-year-old Zach Taylor says at halftime, whatever it is, Kev, he pushes the right buttons. I don't know what he says at halftime to get their attention that he doesn't say in the pregame. But if you noticed, the Lions, I know they were up 10-0, but folks, that was an ugly first half. That was not pretty. That was, that was one of the worst first halves of football that I've watched in a long time. And of course, the Browns said, "Hold my beer," until just a couple hours after that, against the Cardinals. But my goodness, they couldn't move the ball either. Like, Joe Burrow looked very pedestrian. You had guys, he should have had 2 interceptions. The second interception was dropped. But the first half, it was like the Jaguars, Kev. They were just it's like they didn't have a care in the world. They were not playing inspired football. But whatever Zach Taylor tells them at halftime, they come out with this, "I'm going to punch you in the mouth" attitude, and they're a second half team. That doesn't happen with young teams. Mm-hmm. So I will give the Bengals that. For whatever reason, they don't start the game out hot. For whatever reason, they come out at halftime and they're just ready to punch you in the mouth. Whatever it is that gets them going at halftime, they need to figure out that mojo in the pregame, because I think a lot of these games that they've narrowly won, like, I know they blew out the Lions, but they did have to they played 2 quarters of bad football in the first half. They just ran into a team that's worse than them, and the Lions played even worse football in the first half. My point is luckily they came out slow against the Jags, but they were able to come back because it's the Jags. They came out slow because of the fact, against the Lions, they were able to win that game because it's the Lions. You're not starting slow against the Ravens and surviving.
Yeah, you better not.
Now, I'll give them credit. Against the Packers, they didn't come out slow. I didn't feel like, there's some plays that, they had to punt and all that stuff. Of course, you're going to punt from time to time. By the way, the Chiefs have only punted 10 times?
They got to score with that defense so bad.
Well, with the way that Patrick Mahomes turns the damn ball over, they don't even get to 4th down half the time. But no, I was amazed by that stat today as we enter week 7. They've only punted 10 total times. But my point is against the Packers, I thought that they came out with that energy that they matched the Packers' energy to start. Maybe that is signs of a young team too, where they play down to their competition, and then when they realize their back's against the wall, it's like, oh crap, we got to come out swinging. They thought that they were going to steamroll the Jaguar. Maybe that is signs of a young team. Maybe they are showing a little signs of that, but the maturity to be able to flip that switch to come back, that's also something that teams can't do. When the Browns start out flat, they don't pick it back up. That drives me crazy. If they come out swinging, they keep going, but if they come out flat, they don't know how to flip that switch, and that's what drives me nuts about the Browns.
Jamar Chase falling off, man. He didn't have a touchdown catch this past weekend. Falling off, man.
I said bust, man.
But you know what? As big plays as Jamar Chase makes, as good as Joe Burrow is, the best player on the team is the linebacker, 55. I don't even know his name, but he makes plays, dude. He made plays at the goal line against Jacksonville when they went for it on 4th down, had the interception in the 3rd quarter against the Lions to basically flip the momentum. He's a playmaker. And in today's NFL, I know like teams like the Pittsburgh Steelers, how they play defense and everything like that, that's few and far between. You need playmakers. You need guys at every level of the defense to make plays. You need a dude that could get after the passer and cause a sack fumble. Like TJ Watt. You need a dude at the linebacking court that can guard a slot receiver and blow him up legally without getting a penalty on a critical 3rd down. You need a dude in the secondary, a free safety, or even a lockdown corner. You need playmakers in this league, because the days of having the Baltimore Ravens defense with Ray Lewis holding teams to 5 points a game like it's freaking baseball or something like that, that just don't happen nowadays, because even the worst teams are going to score like 21 points a game. You need guys that's going to get you the ball back or get stops at critical spots. And the linebacker for the Bengals, I'm sorry, I don't know his name, but I just was watching the game the other day, 55. Like, he stands out to me. Him and Von Bell. And Von Bell, in my humble opinion, he wasn't that good at Ohio State. He wasn't that good with the Saints, but he's good with the Bengals. He's damn good with the Bengals.
So Lamar Shelley says, the Ravens beat Detroit on a 66-yard field goal. So, come on, Lamar, you're better than that. This isn't, A squared plus B squared plus C squared. Like,
let's get a prediction then. Let's get a prediction.
Yeah. All right, fair enough. Lamar, what's your prediction then? Since you think your team's all bad, we agree. I think they're bad too, but you think they're bad in different ways. So I'm just saying, like, what do you think, Lamar? Give us a prediction. Give us a prediction. I'd love to know what you think about that. So, and then he goes on, and of course, hold up, we got to get this all set. Check. Oh, there it is. Hater Mike's off and rolling again. But yeah, so I don't know. I mean, Lamar, are you trying to say that are you really going to be that simple-minded about this, Lamar? Really? This is why I bump heads with Bengals fans, because you guys do stuff like this. Well, we blew out the Lions. The Ravens needed 4 quarters to beat the Lions, so we're going to blow out the Ravens. Really? So Lamar Shelley, his predictions in, Kev. Bengals 24-17. Oh, so you hold Lamar to 17 points, Lamar. Like, you realize you're not playing Jared Goff, right? Like, you realize you're not playing Trevor Lawrence, right? Like, you realize you're not playing bad teams, right? I just want to make sure. I mean, look, like, this has been this is basically the equivalent of the Alabama Crimson Tide non-conference schedule that you guys got rolling here, folks. Like, I mean, come on. Like, you guys are getting a little too cocky here. Like, you guys had a good little start. I gave you guys some credit, young team, winning games, all that stuff, but give me a break. You guys have played a very soft Alabama-like non-conference schedule to this point. Now it's getting real.
At Baltimore.
Huh?
It's at Baltimore.
Oh, it's at Baltimore? Yeah. Nope. Nice try, though. 24-17. Baltimore's a 6-point favorite, by the way. All right, we'll be back in a moment.
24-17, Lamar. Got it.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash.
Justin, you're awesome, baby.
Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
This afternoon will be partly cloudy, a high near 72. Tonight will be partly cloudy as well, a low near 48. And tomorrow will be mainly clear, a high near 75. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Gathering your family around the dinner table for a home-style meal from Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken is the perfect way to end a fall day. At Lee's, homestyle happens here with our 12-piece family meal for only $32.99. You'll get 12 mixed pieces of Lee's fresh, never-frozen Famous Recipe Chicken that's honey-dipped, hand-breaded, and pressure-cooked to perfection, served up with 3 large sides and 6 fluffy biscuits. Get a home-style meal made easy with Lee's 12-piece family meal for only $32.99. Only at Lee's, famous for chicken.
500,000 businesses connect using Zoom, a single platform for video, phone, chat, and conference rooms. Zoom enables real-time collaboration no matter where your teams are. Global enterprises trust the easy-to-use, reliable, and secure Zoom platform to power high-performance teams. Empower your workforce with Zoom. Save 15% on meetings, chat, and phone with a Zoom United bundle. Visit zoom.com/bundle. Zoom, how the world connects.
Hey, here to tell you about my friends at Cordell Transportation. They're now hiring Class A CDL drivers and offering a $5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right, a $5,000 sign-on bonus. Home daily, dedicated lanes, and no-touch freight. Brand new equipment as well. Medical, dental, vision, and company-paid life insurance. Call Cody right now. Apply online at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
Dutch Boy Platinum Plus. It's only paint. It's only paint that comes in a twist and pour container. It's only paint that will transform your den with just one coat of salted lavender into a writer sanctuary. It's only paint that will help you become TV's hottest writer, where you'll meet this guy
Hey,
who starred in that thing.
now that's a twist I didn't see coming.
Dutch Boy. It's only paint. Only easy opening, smooth pouring, change your life paint. Only at Menards. Get 11% off everything, including Dutch Boy paint.
Did you know that you might be overpaying for your prescriptions? It's true. But it's okay, because there's an easy, convenient solution. Check GoodRx. GoodRx lets you compare prices at different pharmacies and shows you where to get the lowest price. And GoodRx works at all the major pharmacies, like Walmart, Rite Aid, Walgreens, and Kroger. Here are a few stories from healthcare providers about GoodRx.
My first reaction was like, holy smokes, is this for real? Like, can we really get this price down by $300 for this patient? And yes, we did.
I have used it myself. Even having health insurance, I was able to look up some medicines that I was going to get, and it saved me a good amount of money.
With GoodRx, the price is the price. You pull it up and you see the price. That's the price when you get to the pharmacy.
GoodRx is helping millions of people, and it can help you too. For simple, smart savings, check GoodRx. GoodRx is not insurance, but can be used instead of insurance. In 2020, GoodRx users saved an average of 79% off retail prices. Individuals compensated for their time. Visit goodrx.com/radio to learn more.
Your life, your hopes, your passions. These things are none of our business. Your deodorant rash, your favorite cheese, and whatever you were searching for at 1:15 a.m. That's really none of our business, because your life is private. And unlike other tech companies, we think your internet should be too. Oh, what kind of talk is that? That's none of our business either. Protect your privacy online for free with DuckDuckGo. DuckDuckGo. Privacy simplified.
Wake up to Wendy's and get a bacon or sausage, egg, and Swiss breakfast croissant for just $1.99. Made with fresh cracked eggs and served on a hot buttery croissant that's fluffy enough to sleep on. It's time to wakey. Hit the Wendy's drive-thru and get your bacon or sausage, egg, and Swiss breakfast croissant for just $1.99. That's a better breakfast for just $1.99. Only at Wendy's. We got you.
Limited time only. U.S. price and participation may vary. Third-party delivery prices may vary. Not following the combo.
The pandemic's reminded us we live in a sea of airborne germs that can assault us with every breath. Your nose is the body's first line of defense by helping filter out allergens, bacteria, and viruses before they reach your lungs. So how do you clean your nose? Navage uses powered suction to flush out mucus and germs that cause congestion, or worse, can make you sick. Over 2 million people use Navage to breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and feel healthier without drugs. Go to Navage.com or find Navage at Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Bed Bath, and Target.
Fever is the leading symptom of COVID and the flu, and the only way to reliably detect it is with an accurate thermometer. Be vigilant and be accurate with the Exergen Temporal Scanner, whose accuracy has been proven in more than 100 clinical studies. Don't rely on non-contact thermometers. They are proven to be inaccurate and will not reliably detect a fever that might mean COVID. Be sure to seek medical advice at the first sign of fever. Learn more at Exergen.com.
Whatever you're into, you'll find it at Audible. Listen to thrillers, motivation, comedy, and more with podcasts, bestsellers, and originals all in one app. Sign up and start free at audible.com.
Whether you're at home, at work, or in your car, tune in to ESPN 1410 Wing AM or stream us live at wingam.com.
All right, we are back. Justin Kinner, Kev Nash. The Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. So, Kev, I guess today, yesterday, a clip from our show went on the YouTube page about the Baker Mayfield-Joe Burrow comparison. I'd kind of forgot about it. I'd moved on. People a little angry. They're a little upset. Going off on the YouTube channel on the clip that was posted. If you missed the conversation from yesterday, someone had brought up that Joe Burrow is an elite quarterback in the NFL and that Baker Mayfield's a scrub and blah blah blah. And I said, actually, if you're talking about comparisons between the two, that Joe Burrow and Baker Mayfield are pretty much the same quarterback statistically. That just infuriated a lot of Bengals fans. And people are like, "Oh, that's just your opinion." I said, "No, that's not my opinion. There's actually things called stats." And once again. I agree that you can make numbers sing and dance. I believe that's more the case in baseball than anything. I think that a lot of times football, the simpler stats are the ones that tell more of the story, to be honest with you. I mean, when you draft a quarterback, when you look at all the top quarterbacks in the NFL, you look at how many yards a game that they have. I mean, look at Josh Allen, look at Patrick Mahomes, look at Aaron Rodgers, look at everyone. If any one of those guys was averaging 250 yards a game, nobody would be looking at them calling them elite. So they are elite because they go above and beyond what the traditional good quarterback of the NFL is. All right, so that's kind of where we're at with that. So like yesterday, I showed that Baker Mayfield and Joe Burrow have the same amount of passing attempts. Joe Burrow has completed only 7 more pass attempts, or he has only completed 7 more passes than Baker Mayfield. You have a 70% completion percentage compared to 67, and I'm just like, everyone's like, well, his completion percentage is better. So that makes Joe Burrow better than Baker Mayfield because his 3 percentage points higher than Baker. Well, then, Kev, but with that logic, with the Bengals logic, did you know? And again, I always play by their rules, okay? I like to be fair. So Joe Burrow's better than Baker Mayfield because he's 3 points better completion percentage-wise. Did you know that Baker Mayfield's better than Aaron Rodgers? Did you know that Baker Mayfield has a higher passing percentage, completion percentage than Aaron Rodgers? So by Bengals fans' logic, Baker's better than Aaron Rodgers. So I'm just saying, like, that's a really stupid take to have that you're going to narrow down the completion percentage when they're within just a few points of one another. But he has more passing yards. He has 60 more passing yards. Baker Mayfield and the Browns' offense is centered around the run game. Kevin Stefanski's style of offense, it's all about the play action. It's all about the run game. It's all about the balanced offensive approach. Joe Burrow is running a pass-first offense. Oh, well, then if it's a pass-first, hold up, I forgot. Well, Justin, if it's a pass-first offense, then why does Joe Burrow have the same amount of pass attempts as Baker Mayfield? Well, I'm glad you asked. The reason that is that might be a conservative, but a lot of that has to do with the Bengals' inability to be able to sustain drives. All right, they punt the ball a lot. They get off the field a lot. Like, you guys keep falling for that one big play game between Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow. You take that play off the table, and then it's just a very kind of offense. So it's just one of those things that, like, people are getting mad at me as if I'm making up these stats. No, they're accessible. Every one of you can go to the Google and go look these up yourselves. I mean, passing yards, completion percentage, pass attempts. And here's the deal, too, Kev. You want to know why I know that the Bengals have a pass-first offense? It's because they didn't bring Zach Taylor over to run the ball. Zach Taylor came from the Sean McVay offensive scheme. Do you think that they hired Zach Taylor because, well, he's a very good run scheme guy? No. They're a pass-first offense. And if they're not passing the ball a lot under a pass-first offensive scheme, then that means it's because the pass game's not very good. So that's where I'm at with that. Look, I didn't want to keep rubbing it in, but I'm just saying, like, that people keep coming at me left and right and are yelling at me about all that stuff, and it just drives me crazy. So, it's one of those things where on YouTube, I mean, people are writing books. People are writing books because they're so angry at me, okay? This guy on Twitter or on YouTube, Kev, he just goes off. He says, the tape says Burrow's better. He called me a stat guy. He goes, oh, you're a stat guy. The tape shows that Burrow's better. But then goes on to tell me that, oh, yeah, well, Burrow's completion percentage is better. Well, how can I be? Well, you can't make fun of someone for being the stat guy just because the stats, they don't tell the story you like, and then just say, I'm an eye test guy, that he just looks better. And I'm like, well, okay, maybe he does. I think that Burrow looks more comfortable in the pocket. I think he looks like your more traditional quarterback or what have you. But that doesn't mean squat. We're sitting here talking about Lamar Jackson, who doesn't play that position like anybody else in the NFL, and yet he's doing it better than everybody else. So I don't care about how comfortable someone looks in the pocket or the way they look throwing a football or what have you. The bottom line is it just comes down to results, and the results are there. So I don't want to hear any of that stuff. That stuff drives me nuts when people say, just because the pass attempts are the same, it doesn't mean that the Bengals are a pass-first offense. They are a pass-first offense. You didn't bring Zach Taylor over at 12 years old from Sean McVay's offense to say, hey, will you come up with some nice run plays for us, sir? We're going to draft Joe Burrow, an elite quarterback from college, so that we can just have him hand the ball. No, that's not how it works. It's not how it works. 518-1410. Kev, who we got?
Jim online, too.
Jim, how are you, sir? Welcome.
Hey, Justin, you know why the Browns have a run-first offense why Stefanski has a run-first offense, because Baker Mayfield sucks. If he had Joe Burrow or any other good quarterback, would it be a run-first offense? No.
Yeah,
his quarterback before that was
Come on, Jim, spit it out. Come on, you're good. You're doing good. Keep it up.
Hey, just because you say it doesn't mean it's true.
Just because you say it doesn't mean it's true.
Joe, look at the stats. ESPN. Google
I am looking at the stats.
Joe Burrow.
I just showed you the stats. I just told you the stats.
Top 5 in touchdowns. Top 5 in touchdowns. Baker Mayfield is 24th. Well, he's a run-first offense. That's because he sucks. You have to be a run-first offense when your quarterback sucks.
That's not.
Well, what are you going to do?
Then why is your okay? Hey, Jim, listen. Jim, hey, you seem out of breath because you're so angry. Just relax. Calm down. We're all friends here.
I'm out of breath because I just got off work, so that's why I'm out of breath.
Okay. All right, we're good. We're all on the same page. You got my blood pressure up. We good?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay. Now, normally I'd agree with you, but you're trying too hard to rip Baker Mayfield saying that he sucks. Well, if Baker Mayfield sucks, then why does your quarterback have the same stats?
Okay, 14 touchdowns to 6 touchdowns. How bad is your math? How bad is your math? Joe Burrow's got 14 touchdowns. Your dude has 6. Like, how is that same? How is that the same? Did you fail math?
You're that simple-minded? You passed high school, correct? Like you're sitting here saying that 14. You don't even have a comeback because your quarterback sucks, and you got to come back on here every day and bash Bengals fans. All summer long, you were bashing the Bengals for not drafting your man crush, Penei Sewell, and now the Bengals don't even need him. His team that don't need him.
Winless.
They don't need him, huh?
And the guy
your quarterback's still the 4th most sacked quarterback in the NFL. I know you're so big on numbers and math and everything. What do you think about those?
There's not a general manager in the league, including the Browns, who would draft Penei Sewell.
Oh, really? Okay, Jimbo. How many GMs do you know? How many GMs do you know? Because I think I really do. What's that? Jimbo.
Same amount that you do.
Same amount. Actually, that's not true at all. I know 3. So I know you're big on numbers.
So, I mean, you come on here and say
listen, you're calling in all fired up. We're done here, Jimbo. Now, listen, you call in and you have the nerve to say, 14 is more than 6. So that makes Joe Burrow a better quarterback because he has more touchdowns than Baker Mayfield. Well, okay. Joe Burrow has T. Higgins. He has Tyler Boyd. He has Jamar Chase. Okay. And on top of that, you have an offensive-minded head coach. You have you have a pass-first scheme. So, of course, you're going to have more passing touchdowns. The Cleveland Browns have handed the ball off 40 more times than the Cincinnati Bengals have. Why? Because they're run first. And so the fact that in the process of you insulting your quarterback or my quarterback, you're insulting yours. Your quarterback's not that good then. If Baker Mayfield's bad, your guy's bad. It's that simple. John, you can't be that stupid that you're actually going to say 14's more than 6, so that's why our quarterback's better, and yet you don't even have the brains to understand the difference in the offensive schemes. Now, here's the deal. You also have Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. Do you mean to tell me that if the Browns had Patrick Mahomes that they would not use Nick Chubb or Kareem Hunt? They would still hand the ball off quite a lot. Patrick Mahomes is a million times better than Baker Mayfield, but you are an absolute fool if you think that the only reason that they are running the football is because Baker Mayfield's bad. You literally sound really stupid. I don't even care if I'm coming across rude right now. You're going to call in and question my intelligence and say that because I don't know math because you're trying to tell me that 14 is more than 6. Okay. All right, Jimbo just got off, probably a substitute teacher somewhere teaching math class to 4th graders. I mean, he's over here like it's Sesame Street. 1, 2, give me a break. 518-1410. Who's up next, Kev?
We got Tim on line 3.
Tim on line 3. Tim, are you going to give me a math lesson today?
I was on hold for quite a bit yesterday. Well, maybe a little bit, but first I want to tell you, I was calling yesterday for just tell you what a great job you and Keith do with that high school football. I listened to some on Friday. I don't even have kids in high school anymore, but I really like that. I listened to a game you had a couple of weeks ago, and I just kind of felt pretty proud. You know what I mean? That we have this good coverage of local high school football.
And then you tune in, and I'm really acting like a child today. I apologize.
Yesterday is just, and I've called before. We've given each other a little bit of a hard time, but you have gone overboard. Now, I don't have a dog in the fight. I'm a Packers fan. So between Burrows and Baker Mayfield, I like them both.
Okay.
I think they're both pretty doggone good. I don't think they're either one's elite yet.
Okay.
But I do think that
I agree with you.
The Cincinnati fans, when you look at the passer rating, Joe Burrow's passer rating is much, much higher.
Okay.
6 games in, it's much, much higher. That's important for a quarterback. I do think that touchdown to interception ratio, it's the same for both of them, I think. But there is a big difference between 14 touchdowns and 6 or 7, especially at this point in the season. You won't be a starting quarterback in the NFL for very long if you're only throwing 19, 20 touchdowns a year. You've got to get that 25 mark to be considered, a big-time quarterback. Or I think even to keep a starting job for a while, unless maybe you are Lamar Jackson or even Aaron Rodgers, who had 4 or 5 rushing touchdowns last year and already has one this year. But, and your concern about, or not a concern, but I think you brought up great valid points about injuries yesterday to the Browns. But I'm going to tell you something about the Packers right now. Because you guys, like Kevin said, we don't pay attention to other teams' injuries unless maybe they're in our division sometimes. The Packers have been without first-team All-Pro left tackle all season. They've been without their Pro Bowler right tackle for most of the season. They've been playing with – they had an undrafted free agent who never started before having to block Nick Bosa. Now, he's able to do that because – and I was scared. When I looked at the schedule, I didn't think we were going to get blown out by New Orleans. But I'll tell you, that San Francisco game at San Francisco, no one – and the injuries on the line kept getting worse. I mean, we're also without, a first-team All-Pro cornerback. We're without our best pass rusher, Zadarius Smith. But I think quarterback play and coaching is what gets you through those times. For the Packers to be 5-1, it's those guys playing, but it's also having that tight end helping, that tackle there. I mean, those are the things that I don't know if the Browns are doing or trying to do, but it's also Aaron Rodgers. And that's the difference. The Packers' injuries, they've been just dead. They've been healthier in the running back department than the Browns have. But you're going to have to sometimes just be able to really throw the ball in the NFL. And I think that's something that Baker's going to have to grow into. And whether that's this year or next year, or, whatever. And the last thing, though, I really think you ought to just, take a chill pill. Because, when you're calling people these names, the names is just, it's maybe because I'm old, I'm 62, but after a while, it's just, with the last caller, it's just not a good look. But anyway, I like your guys' show.
First, I don't think you're wrong, but here's what I get tired of in life is like we have these unwritten rules of that we are required to be talked to by people a certain way and then told that we can't respond to them in a certain way. I don't play by those rules. I don't believe that the customer is always right. I don't believe that people get to call in and start screaming at me and then expect me to say, well, gee, by golly, sir, I guess I didn't realize that 14 was more than 6.
No,
I agree with you. I do know I went overboard. I go overboard a lot, but I also, you don't understand how people come at me constantly. So I'm fine with people coming at me, but they need to know I'm going to go back. Yeah.
I listen to your show every day. I'd invite you to go back and really think about maybe the proportionality. And maybe if you find you want to win, but, how bad do you want to, with that last caller, I'd invite you to just go back, listen to that, and say, you know what, how many other people are going to enjoy this? Maybe some Browns fans might. But, I'm hoping that maybe tomorrow you guys get on another topic, or maybe you talk about why some of these things are happening.
And that's
and how they're going to.
I don't mean to be rude, but I would love to continue this. Let's critique Justin, the radio host, for another hour or two. But no. Like, look, I get it. All right, I'm not going to be for everybody, and I gave you time to tell me how horrible I am. That's totally fine. Bottom line is this: I appreciate that you listen. I appreciate your take on that, but like you're not going to call. And Tim didn't do anything wrong, but the previous call, you're not going to call in and yell at me, and then expect me just to sit here and not yell back and not handle my business on my end. Like, that's really what it comes down to. I'm not going to go I hate when I go to a restaurant and I see people yelling at the server, yelling at the owner, and the owner and the server sit there like morons and just sit there and shake their head and say, yes, sir. The customer's always right, sir. Yes, ma'am. No, sir. No, ma'am. No. I do not believe that the customer's always right. I do not believe that the customer always gets to talk to you a certain way and expect them not to come at you back. So, no. Had he called in and just had the, not the tone, he came in, he was out of breath because of how, fired up he was. So you're going to call in and be fired up with me. I'll be fired up with you. It's not like some guy's calling in and being nice and I'm yelling at him. That's not happening. So again, I'm not going to be for everybody. There's not a host out there that's 1,000,000% liked across the board. Now I'm going on this long-ass rant that has nothing to do with everything that's going on in college football, NFL, Major League Baseball playoffs, college basketball polls coming out, NBA tips off tonight, and we're going to talk about my anger problems. And I do have anger problems, but like I said, it stems from how people talk to me first, and I don't care how childish that sounds. Kev, they started it.
We got Bob on line 4.
Bob on line 4. Bob, how are you?
Good, Justin. I can't help laugh at your rant. I called yesterday and we discussed scenarios about, Baker and Burrow. Burrow is a better quarterback. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. But at the end of the day, you're supposed to be a pass-oriented offense. So he should be throwing the ball 35, 40 times a game. That's why Baker throws the ball, 22 to 25 times a game average?
Yep.
So why are the numbers so close? I mean, that guy was just a flat-out moron. Well, we got 14 touchdown passes to his 6. Yeah, no crap, moron. That's called basic math. You never said anything about that negative. Never whatsoever. And he wants to spew all these things. Well, your analysis was perfect. If you had Mahomes, and you had Chubb and, Hunt, what are you going to be doing? I'm going to be passing the ball more because the fact I have an elite quarterback. Baker Mayfield is not an elite quarterback. He is an average quarterback that is there to manage a team with a supreme running game. I'm so sick and tired of the Bengals fans acting like you're picking on them over this and that. Well, it goes back to the Browns last year beating Pittsburgh, not once, but twice in back-to-back weeks. Oh, yeah. The second time was in the playoffs. But something the Bengals haven't done since the Cowboys have won 3 Super Bowls. My beloved Cowboys.
Real quick, to their defense, the Bengals were in the playoffs for 5 straight years, in the early 2010s, to be fair. But you're talking about winning a playoff game. Yes, you're right. That has been quite a while.
They haven't won a playoff game since before text message was invented. But yet they want to jump on every single fan base and bash the Browns and bash it because you speak your opinion. And you know what? Stats don't lie. Why is it that Burrow and Baker right now are basically average in numbers? They're basically identical. Besides the touchdown passes, he does have more. Burrow does have more interceptions than Baker. So why is it that they're average? I just looked up when you were talking about this online. Go look at the top 10 passers in the NFL right now. Joe Burrow is not even number 10. Lamar Jackson is. A 42-year-old quarterback is number 1, leading the NFL in passing. But with all the weapons the Bengals got with Chase, if they don't have that home run ball, they're done. If they can't run the ball, they're 3-and-out punt, 3-and-out punt. But yet the Browns are so horrible, So, Justin, I feel with you, Kev. I feel with you being a Steelers fan, brother. You need a new quarterback. You got the talent there. Hang in there, brother. It's going to come. And, I promise you, I've waited this long to have a quarterback in Prescott, and he's finally here. And I still catch grief from Bengals fans every single day when I post on social media. So all I can say is go Browns, beat Bengals, and you guys have a great day.
Later.
518-1410.
We got Nick on line 3.
Nick on line 3. Nick, how are you, sir?
Pretty good, man. I got 2 things. I'll keep it brief.
Okay.
One, I saw a video you put out right before your show started earlier on Facebook. I think it was from the show yesterday, comparing Joe Burrow's numbers to Baker Mayfield's numbers.
Yep.
And you kept reiterating, look how close Joe Burrow is to Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield is one of the worst quarterbacks in the league, right? Oh, isn't that alarming? Maybe his numbers should be better. Nobody's saying Joe Burrow is the best quarterback in the league. We're just saying Joe Burrow is better than Baker Mayfield.
To be fair, I don't know how often you listen to the show, but you should understand how most of these Bengals fans act, that is the case. Maybe you're one of the few rational Bengals fans that don't view it that way, but that was more posted for the masses. I know we get a lot of people, I never said that. Well, then that post wasn't necessarily for you, but I know I appreciate your opinion on that, but that's not necessarily true. A lot of that was directed towards a good chunk of people.
Okay. And then secondly, I'm the guy who made you the bet about the purple hair.
Perfect.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no.
So,
oh, yeah.
Here's the thing. This is stings, man. This stings. I recorded that segment of your show.
You can't record people without asking?
The public airwaves, Kenner.
On Facebook, man. Yeah. So here's the thing. When I called you, I said, if the Bengals sweep the Browns, dye your hair purple. And you said, no. If the Bengals beat the Browns at all, I'll dye my hair purple.
There you go.
I gave you an out.
Is what we call it.
No. Yeah.
All
And
right.
you said no.
Nick, you want me to stick to the bet? I'll stick to the bet. I'll stick to the bet.
Man of his word.
Well,
A man of his word. I like it.
I'll
I
stick to the
appreciate that,
bet.
man. And I'll give you that easy out. Like dude called in earlier, said the 15-minute stuff, spray in, wash out. That's fine, man. I don't care.
I'll stick to the bet. The hair will be purple if the Bengals win, but I promise you that's not going to happen. I feel confident at
Isn't
this
that
point.
kind of weird, though?
What?
We're Bengals and Browns fans, and you're going to dye your hair Ravens colors. But that's fine.
It started because of the Megan Rapinoe thing. My goodness. But all right. Hey, good stuff, man. I'll talk to you guys later. You take care. I don't know why I said you guys. There's only one of you. There's that math thing. You don't have old Jimbo call back in and start counting to me again. 518-1410. Who's next?
We got Alan on line 2.
Alan, how are you, sir?
Good. Thanks for taking my call.
Yep.
I'll be quick. I don't have a lot to say, but I just want to say I'm super excited for this matchup on Thursday night with the Browns. I think it's not getting enough attention, and here's why.
Are you a Broncos fan?
No, I'm not. I'm a Patriots fan.
Okay.
But I think the future of the AFC could be decided by Baker Mayfield's contract situation. What happens there? How does it fall out? That'll shape a lot of how the AFC looks for a while. And I think this is a huge game for Baker Mayfield in terms of his contract because no Nick Chubb, obviously. I'm blanking on the other one. Kareem Hunt, no Kareem Hunt. So this is Baker's chance to say, I don't need a great running game to be a great quarterback. I can do it by myself. Obviously, if they use the running backs, that's great. You have the running backs. Of course you want to use the running backs. But to be a Super Bowl contender, I really think you got to have a quarterback who can do it without them. This is his chance to prove it against a solid passing defense. I'm excited to see what happens.
Now, real quick, Alan, you know what's interesting? I thought about this. You know, the best thing going for the Cleveland Browns is that Baker Mayfield's not Patrick Mahomes, that he's not Lamar Jackson, that he's not Josh Allen. Here's why. Those dudes, they make some nice coin. Lamar's going to make some nice coin. When Lamar gets that money, the Ravens aren't going to have all the extra dime to be able to kind of fulfill a lot of those holes on that roster, right? I mean, look at Russell Wilson. Hasn't been back to the Super Bowl since. Aaron Rodgers hasn't been to the Super Bowl in over a decade. Big Ben hasn't been to the Super Bowl in a decade. It's hard to get there. And a lot of the teams getting there are teams with guys on their rookie deals. But I think the best thing that could ever happen to the Browns is the fact that Baker's not elite, that he is just right below elite, in my opinion, when healthy. They're not going to have to pay him like an elite quarterback, which means they're going to have more money to be able to keep a Nick Chubb longer, to be able to keep a Myles Garrett longer. The Browns will actually have an advantage with Baker Mayfield because all their money won't be funneled into one position. They can, with the money they save by not having an elite quarterback, you still have a quarterback you could win with. I mean, Joe Flacco won a Super Bowl. Nick Foles won a Super Bowl. You look at the fact that Jared Goff led the Rams to a Super Bowl. Jimmy Garoppolo got to a Super Bowl. The Browns can get there with Baker Mayfield. I have no doubt about that. And I think that the Browns will have long-term success because of Baker Mayfield. And I know it sounds crazy. It's because he's not elite and they don't have to pay him like an elite quarterback, which means they can disperse that money elsewhere. I think that the Browns are actually in better position long-term because of that.
Do you think that Baker will accept a contract that says he's not an elite quarterback? Will he be willing to do that?
I just don't think that the Browns are willing to give him 40+ mil, and I don't think a team out there is willing to give him 40.
No, I agree.
So I think that's what
I
it
think
comes
they
down to.
will.
As long as he's a realist, I think that the Browns will be in good shape moving forward.
Yeah, I agree. That makes good sense. Thanks for taking my call.
Take care, Alan. See, I can have conversations with people. When they call in normal, I'm normal to them. Why do you keep looking at me like that? Like, let me ask you. You have an attitude very similar to mine. You're just not as very outward on the air. But if I came at you the way they come at me, would you just sit there and be like, "Oh, hi, sir. Nice to meet you"? If Jimbo came at you the way he came at me, how would you have handled that? Would you have said, "Well, gee, by golly, sir, you make some valid points"?
No. But
Cap.
You actually said it right for a change. I think we should end the show like that because you did it right. Goodness gracious, it only took a week and a half. I'm proud of you.
And by the way, the caller, Tim has been a long-time listener. He has called in a lot. I do respect what he had to say. I get it. I get a little over the top sometimes. But that's not going to change, unfortunately, because it's who I am. It really is. It's who I am. It's who I am. All I'm saying is it's not like you have the Pope calling in with being all nice and calm and then Kinder's just yelling at him. It's very childish on my approach, but I'm treat you the way you treat me. That's exactly. I've never been a believer of the customer gets to talk to you however they want, and then you just got to sit there and take it. No, that's not. I'm not wired that way. So there you go. Got it, Kev?
Yeah, I almost did something bad on my computer.
Trey Green on Facebook says, "Thanks, guys. We got Angry Kenner." Trey Green loves Angry Kenner.
Yeah, we got a new emoji thing on the Facebook page. Chill pills. Bunch of chill pills.
So I'm doing the purple hair bet. Jason Fitz convinced me. Who was the last caller? Mike, or what was his name?
Alan.
No.
Nick. That was Nick. I'm sorry. That was Nick.
All right. I'll try to be on my best behavior tomorrow. No promises. But the hater mic ain't going nowhere. Man, Jimbo was fired up. He got me pissed off. I got angry.
Jimbo to LSU?
And that was such a weak argument. It was as weak.
I didn't hear it. I was answering
it was as weak as the Bengals schedule. I mean, it was weak.
It's the NFL, man. Ain't no weak schedules, baby.
That's weak. I mean, Alabama's like, I would love that. I mean, Nick Saban's like, if I go back to the NFL, can I have that schedule? That's how weak it's been. All right, folks, have a good night. We'll do this again tomorrow if I'm not suspended for yelling at Jimbo and hanging up on old Timmy. So have a good night.
You hung up on Shaw, too.
I hung up on a lot of people today. We out. Cat.
No.
Damn it.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. WYNG 1410 Dayton, Dayton's ESPN Radio.
Call It Propane has been serving the Buckeye Nation in the Miami Valley for over 65 years.
Let our family help protect your family from old man winter. Find out why 98% of our customers would recommend us to friends and family. Ask about the service options